Ah, here we are again. Hello, hello everyone. Ooh, I almost typed something in chat. It's E3 week. Yes, someone wrote that earlier. It's the gaming Christmas this week. I hope we'll see lots of awesome stuff. How are you guys doing? Sorry for being a couple of minutes late. The really simple reason why that is that I have this countdown, which I'm not sure I will keep in the future. It's kind of silly, actually, now that I think about it. And I thought it would be 5 minutes long. So I timed the whole starting the stream according to that. But it turns out it's 10 minutes long. And I didn't want to cut it short because I know, you know, like when I watch some streams, I have countdowns going in. I'm sort of looking at them and go, okay, I have time to make myself some coffee or whatever. And then, you know, like use the time that I get allocated to manage myself before I jump into the stream. So I didn't want to fuck over all those people. Yes. What do we have here? How are you all doing? I'm so punk corpoy. Better than me. I appreciate it. Thank God you can stream on Wednesday and not on the next Sunday. Well, you know, that spot is apparently free from what I've heard. But, nah, you know. Cersei, you're still at work. Well, you know, I hope you'll be done soon. I'll try my best to make that work of yours as enjoyable as can be with some cool level design knowledge. Can I just say, like, I tuned it down a bit, right? Like, it should be almost inaudible now. Like, I'm maybe a bit more louder, so it's in the background very quietly. But that song, the Suicide Mission soundtrack from Mass Effect 2, how can that not get one pumped, right? Sunquad, yeah, I have seen the video. Thank you for sharing that. It was pleasant. Also, it, you know, it was a bit saddening, but at the same time, I get what you're trying to do. Sorry, but Starfield has priority. Yes, okay. I watched the Battlefield trailer earlier, which I thought it was such a nice touch for them to include these community clips of the dude jumping out of the jet, right? Doing the bazooka kill and then getting back into the jet. It's fucking awesome. Curious to see how that kind of translates into gameplay. Yeah, I'm doing great, everyone. It's scorching hot outside, which is why there's no tea today. I have my little teapot, but it is empty because, again, it would be too warm. I need to, you know, like, otherwise I'd just be melting on stream. I'm not sure I want you to see that. Instead, I have some cold water. Cold water. My trusty Witcher branded cup. One of a kind item. Oh, iced tea might be a great idea. Yeah, I might make myself some iced tea in the future. That's a great idea. Yeah, speaking of ice, icy deck, that's icy. Yeah, it's also great for beer. It's like, it's exactly half a liter, so 500 milliliters. It's fucking great. It's fucking great. Frappe, yeah, Frappuccino might also be good. I have a couple of things I need to go through before we dive into our level design shenanigans, right? Or like, I write more emphasis on level design, but it's of course a whole game design thing. Man, iced coffee would be great. Okay, so first off, you know, like, look, I have made a list. But this notebook is so full, I need to be careful not to show it. It has some work notes that it's actually, I'm literally writing on the cardboard backside of it now. I have another new one, but I like to finish using my notebooks before I jump to another one. Alright, so first off, homework, exactly, research. No, so, my kinda goal, I don't know if I can do this, is to improve on this channel from stream to stream. So every week we'll do something slightly better, right? Tiny improvements, but it's all the little steps that hopefully will result in this being a stream that eventually has some higher production value and will be cool and, you know, very professional and awesome, as you know I am. Always. And for that, so the first step is, and this is only a tiny step, we've got our first subscriber emote, right? This was done by my dear friend Kelly Kuhn, who's also moderator by me in my chat. And the current subscription emote, there's 3, of course, which are similar but have slightly different colors. That will not be the same in the future, right? We'll replace them in the future, possibly next week already. I don't know, depends on how quick Kelly Kuhn can make all of these awesome emojis. No pressure. But so these are kind of placeholder, but the style of the emote, you know, this very first one, because I'm affiliate, I can't do too many, is it's in there. It's they nailed it, right? So feel free, for those of you who can. I might actually make that available to everyone through the skill points, maybe. But look at this. Look at that. Right? I'm so happy with it. So there's that. You know, there'll be more. They'll be varied. If you have any suggestions for ones that you would like to see, feel free to suggest them and we'll get onto them. I'm really open for anything. And yes, there's probably gonna be one at some point that, you know, related to my last name. So some slice of bread, I suppose. And the doors. We're thinking of the doors, guys. We have them coming. By the way, Sunquad, thank you for your Prime subscription. I suppose this is something I need to do now, now that I'm professional, of course. Okay, so yeah, I went over the thing that we're trying to improve on something every week, right? And I also took aside Toastbot for and Stream Elements, but I don't know which one of them. I took aside both of them and had a heart-to-heart talk with them, and they shouldn't be as hardcore anymore. So there's that. Limited moderation without impeding on our discussion, right? Also, you should be able to try now writing the exclamation mark secret level command that gives you information on this whole, you know, secret level thing we've been cooking up. And I hope that works for everyone now. Boom! Tansho did it. Yes! Fucking A. Yeah, the Arasaka bot was kind of nerfed and he's more like a Militech bot now. Biotechnica, maybe. So less military. Okay, then another one. I've also added a few more like dummy rewards for the skill points, as the channel points are called, right? As you watch, you gain skill points, which you can use on abilities. I think that is fantastic. And, you know, I added, I think, the poster check, and eventually I'll also, like, regarding the emotes and the unlocking a random emotes one, I may or may not have a bit of a surprise plan for next week, depending on if we can get new emotes, right? So, may do something that enables all of you to get, you know, some of the emotes, depending on whether you, independent on whether you're actually subscribed or not, right? But we'll talk about that when we get to this. Ayanosaur, hello and welcome to the stream. Glad to see you here. Also, Shial, nice of you to drop by. Also, I will say that we are already suspiciously close to reaching the community goal for unlocking the secret level. So I didn't think it would go this quick. Probably next time when we'll do the secret level thing, we'll have to increase the amount. Otherwise, it's not a challenge whatsoever, right? Sapphire, hello. Nice of you to drop by. I hope you're doing well. Okay. Right. Yeah, one more thing also I wanted to say is in regards to the channel point stuff, right? The things, I'm still balancing the values there, so to speak, so don't consider them final. We'll play around with them, and you know, like I want this to be easy. I don't want this to feel like you need to watch a shit ton of stuff to have fun, right? That's not what this is about. We're here to have fun and learn shit. You don't need to grind for it. That would be horrible. Okay, what else? Oh, yeah, this is a note to me that when we start the game that we actually switch the category first time, so we switch it to the game. All right, cool. I think that covers about all of the ones. Oh, see, so I need to learn now how to use this stuff. So basically, Icy just did the whole poster check stuff, which I'm reminding everyone to do this with me, right? So poster is important. I sit at a desk pretty much all day, so it's good to actually have this one. And I invite you all to check your poster with me. Okay, but I suppose as I say that, I should probably put both feet on the ground. Okay, I think we have everything covered. We are ready to jump into Mass Effect 2. However, maybe it's a good idea to kind of... Nah, let's actually just jump right in. Where is it? Where is it? This one. I will... is the volume okay? Is it too quiet? Should I increase it again? Alright, how would we know? We haven't started yet. Okay. So, I actually created a couple of save games for this one. So, this is not completely blind, but I feel with Mass Effect it's okay because I have already played all three of them. Right? So, it's okay. I'm skipping a bit of the cinematic stuff so we can focus more on the actual level design and gameplay. Is this really where I left off? Oh yeah, excuse me. Oh yeah, right. So exactly, this is right at the beginning. Okay, so this is the first time you actually get to play the game. You know, when it starts up, and let's do a short second of remembering what we saw last week. Right. So last week we played Mass Effect 1, and we tried to figure out, you know, where the shortcomings in that level design are, because commonly when people look at the series, Mass Effect 1 is the odd one out, where people say the combat and everything wasn't as fun. So we tried to kind of figure out why that was, right? And we realized that there's a couple of shortcomings in regards to the way they signpost information to the player, meaning that their levels are hard to understand and to read. It's oftentimes the design of the level doesn't really support the cinematic feel, right? Like the story and how where the player should be looking, which at times causes confusing moments for the player. And also their cover placement wasn't necessarily the best. You know, remember the one section where we jumped on that spaceship with the bio terrorists, right? That didn't really work out too well. They struggled with getting the player into the arena and providing meaningful arena spaces there that allowed for a fair challenge for the player, right? And all of these things, we will now take a look at how Mass Effect 2 improves on it. Hopefully it does, but, you know, common perception is that it did. Let's figure out why and how. How do I keep forgetting the buttons? Like, I've been doing this for so often. How is it possible that okay. So we're at the beginning. Shit has happened. Research, thank you for subscribing. Enjoy your emote. Shit has happened. This space station is being attacked, and Shepard, we're now male Shepard, by the way. Last week we played as Fem Shep. We're now having to flee this space station, right? And we're being attacked by robots. And right off the bat, what I notice is this game is having a much better time with its introductory experience, right? Anjay, hey, welcome to the stream. So you see there's actually like this sort of cover moment. Actually, let me put on the recording just in case. So notice by how it is by design that I'm actually forced to use the first cover, right? Because I can't, you know, like actually go over it. Narratively, they're trying to explain that these guys have locked themselves in, so the cover actually makes a bit more sense than most of the cover placed back in Mass Effect 1. And I'm learning that I can actually vault over cover. And this is pretty cool. Look at those elite skills, right? You get some ammo. And this is really cool because the moment, and we can look at that in the recording later on, right? Like I jump over, I'm more inclined to look straight out of the window, right? Because it's awesome. There's the Cerberus, excuse me, the Cerberus logo. And I have this cover right in front of me. And I get shot at immediately. This dude is scripted to do this as I run over, right? Think about what we talked about in regards to triggers last time, right? So the player enters a trigger here, and the dude starts attacking, making me look in that direction, and knowing where to go. And you know, I'm not sure if I should talk about this right now or later in the recording. I think we'll do this in the recording, but just make a mental note here how they're already able to utilize enemies now to guide the player through a location. Something that Mass Effect 1 also struggled with at times. So I'm just going to play this section relatively normally, and then we'll take a look at the recording after and analyze it, as it were. Oh wow, he blew up from the explosion. Wow. Alright. Alright, alright. The category is still talk shows and podcasts. I need to check. Yeah, you're right. This is a bit of a... I still don't know how to handle this in general, but it's good for you to point it out because it's something that I actually wanted to change. Sorry. Because it creates the nice sort of labels in the VOD, right? So people can switch straight from the introduction over to the actual gameplay. And I think that's why this is cool. Thanks for reminding me. Hang on a sec. I will fix this up. I think my moderators should be able to do this as well. We need to learn how to do this, folks. You need to help me with this. All right, wait, did it change the category, like the tags? No. Cool, awesome. Thank you for the hint. I appreciate it. Okay. All right. Cool, let's go. Let's go. I have earned €12.50. I'm gonna get rich. The frickin' Twitch money. No, no, please not. Okay. I want to check this out. This is just for the recording because I kind of want to mention something about this later on. I already made a mental note here. Okay, let's continue. Can someone tell me, did Bioshock 1 come out before Mass Effect 2? Yeah, of course it did, right? This is like such a Bioshock moment, right? With the Big Daddy killing everyone. Can I go through here? No.
More reinforcements heading your way. Grab the grenade launcher off the security officer's body.
Okay. Yeah, all right. I need to turn this louder. Is this better? Oh, I'm supposed to pick this up.
Here come the mechs. Use the grenade launcher to take them out.
That's my kind of medicine.
We've been spotted.
Take the elevator down 1 floor.
And I'm not kind of sure, guys. Like for me, it was very apparent the first time I replayed this that the quality and of the design itself went up, right? There's the progression is almost the improvement in quality is almost night and day. What are these guys doing? Alright, okay. I think I surprised them doing something really kinky.
Log update. The cost of this project is astronomical. Over 4 billion credits so far. But nobody seems to care that we've gone over budget. I don't know where the boss gets all this money. Maybe it's better not to know. I just wish he'd give a little more in my direction once in a while.
Okay, I'm not gonna... Oops, alright. Alright, alright. That's some sturdy glass. Fucking cool though. There's a sign limit. If it's too low, I can try to increase it somewhat. But try to be more precise with your question, maybe. I'm on fire.
What are you doing here? Thought you were still a work in progress.
Yeah, but the second Mass Effect, right? Okay, I'll just do the...
You probably know more than I do.
Look at how angry
I'm sorry
Shepard
about
looks.
that. I'm Jacob Taylor. I've been stationed here for...
Hostiles detected.
Damn it! Things must be worse than I thought if Miranda's got you running around. I'll fill you in, but we better get you to the shuttle first.
It's your station, Jacob. I'll follow you.
First step, let's finish off these metal bastards. We're low on thermal clips, but I'm a biotic.
It's pretty crazy how
Just give
far
me one when
we've
you
come
want
in
me to hit
terms
him
of
with the
facial animations and everything, right? Alright, I need to do this thing, I think. No?
Lost shield.
Get over here!
Get over here! Jacob's got a bit of a scorpion thing going on.
Ready to get the hell off this station?
Yeah.
What's the quickest way to those shuttles?
Depends where the mechs are thickest.
Check. Anyone on this frequency?
I'm going to skip a bit of this.
Hello?
Wilson,
Shepard's alive? How the hell? Never mind.
roger that, Wilson. Stay on this
Let's get
frequency.
out of here.
You bet. We can get into the service tunnels through this door.
This door. That one. The one that you pointed at. Nice. Let's do it. Oh, this corridor almost feels like there is actually something. Like I should, like a necromorph should just drop down from the ceiling now. What's with the door, Jacob? Alright, alright.
Damn it, Wilson. This room is crawling.
The whole station is crawling with mix. I'm doing the best I can.
Have a nice trip.
Yeah, you know,
Wilson, find us another route out of here. Preferably one that doesn't lead straight into an enemy.
something they also seem to be a bit more aware of, at least in this bit, is not to have enemies necessarily attack from behind you or way outside your peripheral vision.
Oh God, they found me. Help!
Wilson, where are you?
Server room B! Hurry! They're out of control!
Yeah, but server room B. Ooh. Nice. There's loot here. Cool. Oh, interesting. Interesting, guys. This will be fun to talk about. This will be really good.
Down here!
Oh, you,
Bastards got me in the leg! We need to get off this station. I'm not going anywhere
just
till
chilling is
someone
important.
fixes my
Yes.
leg.
Alright.
Should be some Metagel in the first aid station on the wall. Hopefully there's enough to get him up and moving again.
Grab the Metagel from the first aid station on the wall.
Alright. I'm heal myself. Where? Oh. Oh, okay. I need to resurrect them.
Thanks, Shepard. Never thought you'd save my life. Guess that makes us even now. Thought maybe
Wilson
I
is
could
your
shut down
favorite
the
character,
security
I
mix.
see.
But whoever did this fried the whole system. Completely irreversible.
We didn't ask what you were doing. Why do you even have security mech clearance?
Yeah.
You're in the bio wing.
Weren't you listening? I came here to try and fix this. Besides, I was shot. How do you explain that?
You're all strangers to me. Let's get someplace safe, then we'll sort out whose fault.
Shepard is so
Right,
pissed
Shepard.
at this
We need to
intro.
find Miranda. We can't leave her behind.
Forget about
Understandably.
Miranda. She was over in D-Wing. The mechs were all over that sector. There's no way she survived.
A bunch of mechs won't drop Miranda. She's alive.
Then where is she? Why haven't we heard from her? There are only two possible explanations. She's either dead, or she's a traitor.
Maybe, maybe
I
not.
haven't known her long enough to trust her.
This project was Miranda's baby. She'd never sabotage it.
Okay, maybe
So
she's
in
not a
that
traitor,
way, Shepard
but
is
that doesn't
Miranda's
change the
baby.
facts. We're here,
Alrighty,
she's
Spark.
not. We need to save ourselves. The shuttle bay is only a few.
We can overload the canisters to clear a path to the shuttles.
Oh, okay. Is this one? Yeah. Did I almost kill Wilson?
Okay, we took him down. But this is getting tense. Shepard, if I tell you who we work for, will you trust me?
This really isn't the time, Jacob.
We won't make it if he's expecting a shot in the back.
If you want to piss off the boss, it's your ass, Jacob.
The Lazarus Project. The program that rebuilt you. It's
I'm not
funded
sure.
and
It
controlled
feels
by
like
Cerberus.
this piece of exposition feels a
wiped out
bit
my
sudden.
share of
It's like
Cerberus project
suddenly he
with
wants to
respect.
talk about this, and I didn't
Back
feel
then,
like
they were trying to
Shepard
kill
was
me.
actually
Why they
pretty
change your part?
confused or pissed about what was
Those
going
answers are
on
way
here.
above my pay grade. But basically, things change. The Alliance declared you dead. They gave up. Cerberus spent a fortune to bring you back. Look, I'd be suspicious too. But right now, we have to work together. I thought you deserved to know what's what. Once we're off the station, I'll take you to the elusive man. He'll explain everything. I promise.
Well, if I won't get any more answers here, let's get moving.
It's not much farther to the shuttle bay.
Okay. Loot. Oh, there's no thing on the door, right? Woo! Okay. Okay. I see. I like it. Look, like where do I need to go? Oh, thankfully there's an arrow right there pointing me in the right direction. Oh wow, I like this room. Wait, can I go here as well? Oh. Oh, I see. Okay. Let's not do that. Did it. Okay, so I'm running up the staircase. Alright, I should probably use the, what is that? A rocket launcher. No? Really? Alright, round then. Huh, alright, so let's see what go... This is a bit weird. Let's see what's over here. Oh, it's literally just a spawn closet. Okay. Wow, but they didn't even dress this up. Like, what is this room? It's just a place for... Is it supposed to be an office? Do you sit on the floor when you use this computer?
Test subject has been recovered, but the damage is far worse than we initially feared. In addition
This is
to
the worst
extensive
office
burns and
ever.
internal injuries from the explosion, subject has suffered significant cellular breakdown due to long-term exposure to vacuum and sub-zero temperatures. Despite the extent of the physical trauma, Wilson assures me subject is salvageable. The Lazarus Project will proceed as
So I just want to also for recording kind of take a look at how it would have looked like if we went the other way around. Sexist laugh. Thank you very much for following. I hope you're enjoying what you see. Alright. It's actually kind of nice that this room is split into like two halves color-wise. See, you have like this white-ish middle and the warmish left side here. So you would have gone around here. What would have happened? Would I be right in the spawn of all of these enemies? I want to take a look at that. Fuck. 35. Let's see if this is before we get to that. Sorry, it's a bit of... Oh no, it's after this. Oh no, I wish I could have... Okay, if we have some time at the end of the stream, let's take a look at this. I would like to know if the scripting actually adjusts to if the player comes out over from this direction. Because otherwise what I could see happening is that if I walk up here, right, I just get fucked by all of these enemies spawning from that side, right? Or if they actually spawn sooner then, and basically allow for combat from this sort of section. So you fight from bottom to top. It's curious. Like, let's reverse engineer that later on a bit. Personal Discord server of Miles when? I don't know. Miles, would that be something that interests you, having access to like a personal Discord server? What do I do with that? Do I chat with you all day? Oh god, really? Miles is left. That's my own bot.
Come on, through here. We're almost at the... Miranda, but you were...
Alright.
Dead?
What the hell are you doing?
I see, I'm sorry. It was the choice, the consequence to my choices. I'm sure I could have saved Wilson. I knew he was lying.
Wilson was just looking for a chance to
All
shoot me in
the
back.
time. All the
Good
time.
instincts.
I knew it.
Some people are far too trusting to ever see that coming.
Come on, let's grab this shuttle and get out of here. My boss wants to speak to you.
You mean the elusive man? I know you work for Cerberus.
Ah, Jacob. I should have known your conscience would get the better of you.
I never realized how high of a
That's the way to
forehead
get
she
into join our
has
cause.
in this one.
Well, since we're getting everything out in the open, is there anything else you want to ask before we go, Commander?
Nope, let's
I've
go.
had enough of this station to last a lifetime.
Or two, in your case. Come on.
I get it because, you know, I died and then she resurrected me, so it's like my second life. Good. All right. Okay. So I will. Well, let's look a bit at the cinematics.
Before you meet with the elusive man, we need
Because
to
I
ask
know
a
the
few
next section
questions
we'll
to
play
evaluate your
will actually
position.
follow up
What,
on
we have
this
to do
one.
this
But I
now?
think I have a
We've got
save
weeks
game
of testing
prepared for that as
Okay.
well.
You
So
and Liz
We should
um,
move on.
let's do this. Let's check. Oh, I can just skip it? What? That's new from the first game. Yeah. Okay. Great. Let's go into analysis mode and take a look at what we've seen so far, right? Any objections? No? Great. Let me mute the game audio so we don't have redundant audio. Okay, guys. So, let me bring up the Z recording. Have I stopped recording? No, now I have stopped recording. Okay. Is this the video? It is indeed. So I'm going to go into this and then I will press this. Whoops. I will also need to turn on my software that keeps crashing. Fingers crossed it doesn't. We should make like at some point we'll do like a drinking stream Wednesday. Why not? And every time it crashes, we take a shot. Okay. Oh god, that would be horrific. Before I jump into this, actually, let's take a second to go through some questions in the chat. You know, I have a hard time, like I need to dedicate time to these two things because I have a hard time doing it simultaneously, as you may have noticed. I'm sorry for that. The Discord, I will actually make a note here and consider it. I'll consider it. Discord question mark. Might be fun. Might not be. I don't know. I remember the days when Miles streams were a secret. Like 4 dudes watching Miles fail horribly at stealth and Ghost of Tsushima. Yes, that was a time. Now it's 60 people, 40 people, 2,000 people. No, just a handful more people really watching me fail, much in a similar way. And then we talk about why we failed. I consider that an upgrade. So we'll run after the foxes. We may do some more of that at some point. I suppose if I do Sunday lunch streams, right, that would be where that kind of content would go. Yuna, hey, welcome to the stream. I hope you're doing well. We're just about to jump into some hardcore analysis of a section in Mass Effect that we just played. And for those of you who are just joining in, we are here to look at Mass Effect 2. Last week we looked at Mass Effect 1, and we looked at what the shortcomings in Mass Effect 1's level design are. Because generally when people look at the Mass Effect series, people look at Mass Effect 1 and go, that's the one with the shitty combat. And we wanted to figure out why that is, right? So now this week we're looking at Mass Effect 2 to see how they improved on that. And why they are not the game that deserved the title of the bad combat game in the series, right? So let's take a look at the recorded gameplay and see what's happening here, right? And from that understand, hopefully, what they've done better. Okay, let me take a sip. Also, Branko, by the way, thank you for following my channel. Cool. So, see this? Dear Kale, subscribe. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, yeah, this is something that, you know, generally, the tutorial experience in this game is much more in your face, but it is also there, right? And I think that in myself, just the the way the game teaches its mechanics is already a huge improvement over Mass Effect 1, right? Where basically at no point did it really force you to use any of the abilities, and the stuff was happening so fast that oftentimes you were able to just miss the command prompts, right? Resulting in you, or me rather, not understanding a vast part of the games, pretty much. Yep, okay. And again, this is such a like classic way of sort of teaching a player a mechanic, right? Even as simple as using the cover mechanic or actually jumping over. It's basically you put an obstacle in the way that the player cannot bypass without actually using the ability that you want to teach them, right? So the player can only progress once he's understood how to use the ability. In this case, take cover. And what I kind of like about this is that it does two birds with one stone, right? First off, it teaches you how to use cover, right? And then it wants you to vault over it. So it also teaches you part of the locomotion of this game. Take care, Anjay. Thank you for dropping by. Are you talking BTS, the K-pop band? Okay. And see here, this is what I talked about earlier, right? So you jump over. No jackass with the bits. Thank you. Behind the scenes. Oh, that would be great. I was already getting my hopes up for the K-pop band. And, you know, something I really like about this is simple, right? Like if I hadn't noticed the robot instantly and just looked at the window, right, he would have shot at me, but in a non-punishing way, right? Because he doesn't flat out kill me. Understanding or pulling my attention to this half of the room, right? This side of the room. But what I also like is notice how the robot actually doesn't instantly just start shooting, but they actually get up from this animation, from this idle animation, right? From this, call it inactive state. Wow, Nojakas is just throwing out the cheers here. Thank you so much. He's making it rain. The Lithuanian bits. Yeah, and so this is really cool because it gives the player time to react, and we see how that works later on at a later section, where the same thing happened, and there it's a bit more obvious how useful it is that these guys don't start attacking instantly, but have this animation that allows me to see, oh, their stuff is moving over there, and I can then understand, it's an enemy, and I can get ready to fight, right? Okay, full stop. Now, one thing that made it much more clear to me that these guys had improved on the way they designed locations, right? And took into account player guidance much more than they did in the past was this moment. Can someone here, other than the animation, right? And the way the enemy is used to guide the player's attention to the spot where he needs to look at, and the tutorial prompt, other than that, chat, please let me know. What do you think made me think that these guys probably improved quite a bit compared to Mass Effect 1? Teddy, hello. Welcome to the stream. I enjoy the Devil's Horns. I'm certain because I passed my driving exam. Congratulations, man. You're now able to drive on your own. No one. Come on. I've taught you better. What were we looking at these last couple of streams? A little bit of audience participation. Show me that you've learned something. Okay, I'll give it like, because of the delay, of course, a couple more seconds. No, nothing. No pointers. Come on. All right, I will tell you. If you don't know, they didn't do what they did here. Good. That is an F in your test. You can go upstairs. Hiding spot? Okay. Cool. These are all, I suppose, somewhat valid, but Research nailed it, right? They are utilizing lighting and the geometry of the space, so I suppose the stairs, to guide the player forward. That is something that Mass Effect 1, at least in the sections that we were playing, basically, like, you know, I don't think they actively made it a big point, right? In their design, they sort of either weren't aware of the tool or couldn't do it for a variety of different reasons, but it wasn't excessively used back here. But here, if we look at it, right, we have again this sort of warm light going on this side, where the rest of the room is really cold. And again, it is this kind of contrast that guides the player's eye, right? Because our eyes, our brains are trained to see breaks in patterns and, you know, are drawn to contrast. The left is looking unappealing, but the stairs are... Yes. And of course, you know, stairs, we talked about that during our Dishonored stuff, are something that is very easy for players to understand, right? As a means of, like, moving forward. You see stairs and you're like, okay, I'm expected to be able to move up there, so it is a valid path most often. Whether it leads to somewhere or not doesn't matter, right? Stairs are sort of connected with the thought of movement, locomotion, going forward, so they're like a nice tell. And look at how the geometry also here is shaped to kind of create all this pull towards the right, not only from how the stairs are shaped, right, but you sort of have like few diagonals, sort of, you know, like they're not entirely perfect, but you sort of get a bit of this stuff. Even the light, I suppose you could argue. So, you know, it's a very dynamic kind of shot. And all of this, including the lighting, of course, helps to signpost that the player actually needs to go up here and then move into this direction. And this already I consider a huge improvement over, you know, the designs of what we've seen last week in Mass Effect 1, right? The utilization of the other weapons in a level designer's or a designer's arsenal, essentially. Have you seen any improvements from a level design piece from the original to the remaster, asks Sapphire. I actually don't know. I haven't compared them, but I could imagine a scenario where the improvement in lighting might help along some cases, but I'm not sure as to the extent of how much the remasters actually affect the you know, base game in terms of level design. I don't think they changed any of the layouts, right? Okay, let me research for a level design internship. Well, you know, like so far, you know, maybe I'll do the maybe I can do this, right? Like Harry Potter thing. I'll give points to people who answer questions properly. I need to check into if I can do this. And that would be fantastic. 10 points to research. Yes, Spark, I've had my DMs open since forever. Yeah, let me tell you, around the first half of the year, it's been a tough ride. But I mean, I think, again, like for me, having this contact to the people that play the games that I work on, right, is really, really important. I think having this channel open, essentially, is important. And I mentioned that one of my main motivations for doing this channel is that I want to have I want to help create a bit more understanding and transparency between, you know, the level design, what happens behind the stage, behind the scenes, right? And, you know, how it's perceived in front of the stage by the people, sort of, right? And so trying to be that bridge in between the curtain, opening it up, letting you look in, explaining to you what it is that you see. That's sort of what I'd like to do. And part of that, you know, was always my philosophy to have my DMs open. Now, I don't really have many followers, so I can do that. I'm not sure if anyone with a substantial amount of followers could actually get away with it, right? Because I already find it incredibly hard to keep up. Okay, cool. Let's continue. Yep. I mean, this cover place is like, duh, right? There's like, there's a comment. There's literally a box here to help you around. It's so straightforward. Spark, you don't need to, really. It's been great, actually. You know, like, yeah, there's been some really mean messages, but overall, the vast majority are very, very nice. And I'm having some really cool interactions with our followers. Oh my god, Hazelnuts is raiding! Oh no! Now I need to actually deliver good content. Okay, guys, poster check. Everyone, clean up your desk. Let's do this. Hey, everyone from Hazelnuts' stream. Oh, thank you so much for dropping by. We are right now looking at Mass Effect 2 and taking a look at the level design of the game and seeing how it improved over Mass Effect 1's. Welcome everyone to this, I suppose. This is fucking awesome. Hello. Man, this is I don't even know how to react to these. Okay. Yeah, everyone, welcome our raiders of the Lost Ark. I hope you will enjoy our little excursion into the level designs of the Mass Effects. I think there's lots of awesome stuff to learn here. Okay, I'm continuing here, continuing up the stairs, and you know something. All right, Boo, that's nice. Sorry, I have to. That means Sir Isaac Newton is the deadliest son of a bitch in space. Now, Serviceman Burnside, what is Newton's first law? I don't get it. I don't get it. Kind of sleep on the floor at the end. What? Oh no. I hope she's okay. But you know, it's insane. So in case anyone, you know, I suppose the vast majority of the raiders is basically now obviously knows Hazelnuts, but for those few of my viewers up until now who don't know who Hazelnuts is, right? She's an awesome streamer. Do check her out. If you like seeing someone play an insane amount of Beat Saber with a level of stamina that rivals an Olympics athlete, basically. I don't know how you're able to pull that all of that off, Hazelnuts, at the level of skill, right, that you're displaying. Or if you like to see someone just casually destroying the first boss in Dark Souls 3 using a dance mat, she's the streamer for you. Do check her out. It is quite marvelous. It's a very wholesome stream. Okay, so welcome once again. I hope you're all doing great. Once again, we're taking a look at the level design of Mass Effect 2, trying to understand what these guys are doing and seeing how that is better than the level design in Mass Effect 1, which we took a look at last week. Yeah. Okay, so one thing I'm noticing here, by the way, they do, which is kind of nice, and this is something we kind of touched on this in an earlier stream, right? The magic word is affordance, right? So here, these guys are using this little element to create an affordance for opening doors. The idea of an affordance is basically in design. How do I explain this very, very easily without going on like a tangent for an hour? Basically, anything in design that allows you to understand the usage of an item without you needing an explanation is an affordance, right? So, I don't know. If you have a door, because we all like doors, it's our favorite topic, right? And you put a handle on it, right? You basically create an affordance for a player, for a user, right? To use the handle to open it, right? You can kind of create an explanation as to how to use the door. However, if you have a push door, for example, how do you make the player, I say, but it's of course, you know, in real life we're not just players, we're people. How do you make a person actually understand that this is a push door as opposed to a pull door, right? So one suggested design for this is, for example, to remove the handle and maybe just put, you know, like you may have seen this. Actually, let me try to Google this real quick. I can help you out. Push door. look at this. Where is a good one? Where is a good push door? Yeah, I don't know. Let's take a look at this one, right? Can you see it? Can you see it? Can you see it? Yeah, you can. All right, so this one on the right here, right? It doesn't have a handle. It even says that you need to push it. But even outside of these signs there, right? If you didn't know it, you would know that it's probably a push door. It wouldn't even occur to you to pull it, right? And that way, the design of this door creates an affordance for a person to push it. That's the concept in a nutshell, right? So yeah. Now, look, applying this to the door here, they're using this green little thing, which now isn't so obvious at this point to the player in the game. But later on, we see examples where it's not used, and that is supposed to tell us that this is a door that isn't interactive. You don't even need to bother walking towards it, right? It is just here for decorative purposes. So there's that. We open the door. And this is also something I think is always kind of cool, right? Notice how we're in like a really warm, brightly lit area, and they're creating a bit of contrast by using a completely different lighting scheme in the next room, which is much colder. And this doesn't necessarily have a huge level design player guidance function, but it does allow a bit to split the spaces in the player's mind a bit more, right? It cements the idea that you're now in a new area, right? That is different from the previous one. Okay. In a way, you know, like this, the cool thing is that this door is locked so the player doesn't flee through the entire encounter here, right? But it is also kind of what helps me look at that door at the beginning. Okay. All right. Why not? Well, I'll get to this in a second, Nojakas. All right. So yeah, it kind of allows me to see this door a bit more easily, right? Because it stands out, this red dot in the sea of white color. And there's also, I don't know what it is, but there's also this spark effect. Do you see it? The movement, which kind of, again, you get into the room and the first thing you look at is the door. Not only because it's dead on in the center, right? But also because it has all these little tiny things helping it along, putting it into the center of attention, if you will. Yeah. But yeah, you're right, research. Of course, with the lighting here, you're also kind of invited to look to the right. You know, you also have this thing going on. So there's a bit of a gravity towards the right side, which is okay. I'll take a look at this in a second. That's why I went to that in the recording later, because I noticed this as well. That's fine, because as soon as you turn right, you are actually moving into cover, right? You see these guys, these act as cover as much as this does. And you get the prompt seek cover. So no matter which direction I go from here, as a player, I have the opportunity to feel safe or to get cover for the combat that is ahead of us, right? So it's cool. It's cool. All right, they're telling me that shit's getting real. There's a pointer to my left on the floor where I should see cover. And I do. And I wonder if this is actually scripted. You know, like actually I use this thing and immediately the door opens. I wonder if this is a timing coincidence or if it's scripted in this way. I don't know. Something worth reverse engineering probably. But if it was, you know, you can kind of tell another version of what is basically a condition fulfilled, right? Like we talked about triggers, the areas that we can use to measure whether a player does something or is at a certain place before we script new actions like spawning NPCs or something. Or these guys might have an ability to check whether a player is in cover, right? And once they have entered a certain cover position, they can cause certain things to happen, like the door opening, new enemies spawning, etc. And this is also, again, you know, this is something we really talked about last week, right? Is the idea of using wave-based combat to provide the player with bite-sized pieces that they can actually really tackle with and work with and understand, right? And Mass Effect 1 didn't really do that, at least in that one location that we played. It failed horribly at that, right? But here we can see this principle actually applied. So we have like just at first a small encounter of just literally, it's one enemy. I think it might be one. And this is, again, he's like a bit the token dude, right? He shoots at us. It's not very punishing, even if we are not in cover. But it makes us, no matter where we are at this place, look in the right direction, which is where this dude is, right? Because he's shooting at us. It warms us up to the combat, essentially, right? And it then prepares us for the real combat, which is what happens when these guys come out, right? So in a way, he's the sacrificial dude, the sacrificial piece that prepares us for the combat happening in this area, right? Slacker Cube, thank you for following. So we're doing this. We shoot the guy. I also like the amount of motion from the fire, but also this sort of like color difference here again that creates a bit of contrast and sort of highlights the continuity of the space, right? It looks like a tunnel basically, but it really isn't. This, you know, like this sort of little tiny shape and these repeated shapes actually give it the sense that it's more of a tunnel than it really is. Oh, the notifications are disappearing behind my cam. That makes sense. There you go. I fixed it. Okay, so now that I'm already looking in the right direction, they spawn the next wave of enemies, and I can actually test my survival and shooting skills, which is great, right? Very simple, straightforward, and it's really, again, bite-sized pieces, right? I'm brain AFK. Corpoik, okay. It's too much knowledge. Yeah, you can see it very strongly here, how the contrast in color, right, creates a bit higher perception of depth in this area, right? All right, Hazelnuss, take care. No rush. Relax. You did your part. You get to relax now. Wow, I wasn't a bad shot. I did a great job headshotting most of these enemies. Research. Minus 10 points for research. Okay, all right. Yeah, I like the color thing going on here. So again, you know, and this is important. This is important to do things that enhance the perception of depth of a room. Why is that? Because what we don't need to forget is any video game, perhaps maybe not so much with VR games, but even still there, is ultimately a 2D projection of a 3D space, right? It's all two-dimensional, right? And it would imagine for a second that this room had exactly the same color than all of this here, right? Then it might be that even with the door being open, I as a player might see this like a solid wall, right? Which would be wrong. And it might be misleading, because if I don't see this as a door and as a passage, I might try to look for a passage elsewhere, right? And I could get confused. So using lighting and the geometry of a space to properly communicate the 3D, the space to the player, right, is important. White. All right. So first, Nojakas, I'm not sure if we will name Shepard because he's already named. So I'm going to reject that. But I will take the style guide that was just used to change the pen color to white, which will be incredibly helpful. Is white even possible? Oh, I can't do white. I should have probably added the color. So I have red, blue, yellow, green, and orange marker. Can you request the same? Can you tell me which color it's supposed to be other than that? So I don't have white. Best I can do is either, I suppose, yellow or blue. Green then. Well, okay. We'll use green. This is such a great thing. This is the first time this was used. Okay, cool. So we do this, right? The importance of properly communicating 3D space. Very good. Why did it freeze? Right, because I was changing something. Did it. And again, you know, I've mentioned this before. Using motion to catch the player's eye, you know, to guide it to where you want him to look, which is where this big ass robot will be, is good, right? They're using the fire for this kind of effect and the obvious contrast it brings. Guys, you guys better listen. You better understand this, right? It's me trying to learn stuff here, but I'm also trying to teach you so you can get an understanding, right? So we, in the future, we may see each other on the industry battle floor, fighting for the same jobs. No, and my point is, I'll ask again. I will come back. I'll ask questions. You better be able to answer them. Look, again, a little bit of a color contrast, right? To sort of go here. And I suppose this is ammo. This is just a loot room where the enemies spawned. Nothing too important. So, yeah, research. You mentioned it earlier, right? That it made you go right here, this room. Oh, yeah. Dania is gonna try something on dreams. That would be great. I'd love to see something. You know, if you do that, send it over on my Twitter. I'll take a look. So this is why it's okay for us to go to the right, because it actually gives us a view into the room that we started in, right? Which we can understand because there's a bit of visual landmarks here with this kind of screen, which we see when we start the game, right? It's a bit obvious. It's kind of cool. And again, it allows us then to understand a bit how we have moved through the location and how this level works, right? And the keyword that I'm pointing out here, and I have pointed out in the past, is mental mapping, right? Allowing the player to make a mental map of how the space works. Cool. So that's why this is cool, right? The player gets to make this connection. They get to orient themselves. And, you know, even if they don't do that, even if you look into the room and go, I don't know what room that is, but it looks cool, it's not a big deal because it doesn't block you in the progression, right? It's not, you know, fucking you over in any major way. Icy is asking, you've mentioned needing to learn Unreal Engine 4 and 5, I suppose is what you're trying to say. Is there a particular reason? How often is Unreal used? Well, you know, so of course I've dabbled with these engines, right? But it's not something I use on a professional basis, and I have never actually used in any professional way or form. The game projects that I've worked on were either using Unity back then or our proprietary engine, which is Red Engine, right? So there has never really been a need for me to dabble in other engines. Nonetheless, Unreal Engine is a widely used toolkit for people to create games, right? It might even, is it possible that Mass Effect might even have been done with I don't know. So, you know, just in terms of personal growth and knowledge, I think it's a good thing to look at, right? And to play around with. Having said that, most engines are very similar in their tool sets, right? So I actually downloaded Unreal Engine 5 the other day to play around in it a bit, you know, to get a bit familiar with how it's made. And it was relatively easy for me to pick it up and do stuff in it. Because again, you know, it's like 3D software, right? When you know Maya, Maya and Max, there's differences, but ultimately the workflows are kind of similar, right? Or Photoshop and I don't know what other drawing software or digital paint or image editing, that was the word I was looking at, software you're using, but they all sort of work in a very similar fashion, right? So yeah, that's why. Okay, this is kind of cool. Is there actually something you can see by doing that? Did I miss something from walking up? Oh. I kind of thought that the flicker kind of helped you see something cool here, right? Because it kind of does guide you towards this left side. But, and I mean, there's some dude standing over there who's walking over just to be killed by the robot, but I'm not sure this pillar is doing a great job of helping with this. I wonder if this would have been a nicer view if this was just one solid window. Because then you could more easily see that person running over. Fabian, hello and welcome to the stream. My car has an Unreal Engine too. That is true. That is true. Fabian drives a kick-ass car. Okay, let me take a sip. Spark, that's actually not something very new. That's something that many engines have been able to do in some shape or form for a long time. It is cool though. It is cool. It's very useful. Oops, he's dead. Yeah, cool scene. You know, like it's, I think we already kind of talked about how, you know, like they get the player to look at that area enough, but it's now you see why doing that pays off, right? Why it's useful for the player to look into that direction, because there's this cool little scene playing that adds a lot of ambient, right? This dude doesn't fuck around. I need to get a DeLorean. Okay, yeah, I can. Why not? Here, guys. See, let's come on. Let's look at the whole. Wait. Look at this. There's another door. It's literally the same shape, right? But it doesn't have the whole little thing, which actually makes it much more subtle, right? It's much more easy to miss, which is intentional because it's, after all, not usable. So it's not really important information for the player to have. The reason why this is here is simply so the designers can create a more believable space, right? One that functions, because you can imagine that the space station continues behind here, and there's probably a connection back to that room here on the left, right? And it's important as a designer to create believable spaces if you want the player to be immersed, right? Because otherwise you will pick up on it feeling weird and gamey, and that will make your illusion fall apart. Question: has CDPR utilized photogrammetry at all? How does it work if you're allowed to talk? We have. That's all I can say. It's not really an area I'm very expertised with. It's interesting too. As a player, it's really nice to see new engine tech enable a lot of quality of life features for devs. Obviously, making games is insanely complex, so anything that helps the devs makes the Yes. Basically, anything that removes barriers for any developer to do stuff, you know, like to actually focus on the design is good, right? It's the same thing. Imagine trying to do some craft work at home, right? Or I don't know, cooking food or whatever, right? The more steps you need to do before you actually get to the fun part, which is the cooking of the food or actually making whatever craft you're doing, the more problematic it becomes, right? And if you are able to make the steps in between easier, you know, you'll have a better time doing the actual work, and it will probably yield better results. At the very least, it will make the work more enjoyable, right? Which can have positive effects. Yeah, again, so of course I need to talk about doors. Look. Okay, so not only the bright lighting here, right? And to an extent, actually, even the logo, which is a bit arrow-shaped, helps here. But also, you know, notice how, again, simply because this door doesn't have this green thing, and this one does, the focus is much more on that door, right? Obviously, also the corridor leads towards it. Again, we have the light and all that going on, but it would be a bit of a different story if the similar green thing was also placed on this thing than on this side, right? Just food for thought. Depends on the size of the file, Spark. It really depends how you layer stuff. I'll talk about that in a minute. Hold that thought. Remind me if I forget. Again, here we see another, like example of what we've seen earlier, right? What am I talking about? What is good about this? Oh, Unreal 5 download started. Rule of thirds, actually, good point. Good point. Good point. Composition. The light points towards the door. Yes. The lighting comes from the door. And, something that I feel worth pointing out also at this point is, it is, as a designer, it's very easy to become too proud and to think that all of these little tricks make finding a thing too easy, right? You fall into this trap of thinking, no, this should have a bit of a challenge because it's fun to, have to explore and find your place. But the reality most often is that you can't make things too obvious, right? Especially with a lot of stuff going on. I mean, here the fact that it's a tutorial level also plays a role, of course. But generally speaking, with lots of action going on, it almost never is too easy because, players work differently. And it's something that I see when I watch Cyberpunk or Witcher 3 streams or even streams of other games, right? I notice a lot that, like in situations where we already had internal discussions, we're like, yeah, well, but isn't this path too obvious? Shouldn't we try to make it a bit more hidden so the player has the sense of, oh, I find it and it's awesome. You have the sense of discovery, right? And 90% of the cases, people will just miss it entirely because of that, right? So oftentimes it's much easier to make things too hard than it is to make it too easy, I would say. That's my statement. Take that. Take it. Put it on my tombstone. Okay, but yeah, you were right. So I saw things like the lighting being brought up, how the lines are pointing to the door, and these are all really, really important elements, right? So let's go through them one by one. First off, we have, of course, the color of this room being the almost complementary color to the blue going on here, right? Then, secondly, what we have is the composition. Someone mentioned rule of thirds here, which is pretty much dead on for this, right? So this door is pretty centered. The whole view, I suppose, you could broadly, split into thirds, I suppose. Bad thirds, but it's this section, right? So if we talk about this wall, I'm really good at drawing straight lines, as you can see. You have this sort of stuff going on, right? Pointing towards it. It creates this whole fleeting point, right? And I suppose one thing that also works, which is a bit odd, is that there's a lot of round shapes here, right? Even the pillars are rounded. And you have this sort of boxy door shape here, which also is a form of contrast that helps point the player to, or guide the player's eye, right? So yeah, a lot of tools that are used and layered on top of each other, which you can see then how, it isn't often about one single element, but effectively a combination of multiple elements. And it is exactly that where I said it's easy to fall into this trap of being too proud, right? Like, why add the round shapes and do that stuff? Why add the lighting when it's already right in the middle of it? This is also the player can understand this, because in games, what you do with your brain is you do split seconds decisions all the frickin' time, right? And whenever the player has to stop and think about where they need to go, you need to be sure that this is something you want, right? Oftentimes you might cause the sort of bad examples where you need to stop because you actually genuinely you don't know where to go and you feel lost, and that is a moment where the player gets pulled out of the experience, right? It's an immersion breaker, if you will, and that's bad, right? You want the player to be able to fully immerse themselves, to be part of the experience as much as possible. And that's why these little tricks help. Nonetheless, this is also something that ties in really nicely with the grenade, with the tutorial here, right? Where we get to use the grenade launcher, which teaches us that we can switch weapons, how to switch weapons and all that stuff. The elevator I found a bit hard to find because I didn't really understand that this was an elevator, simply because the platform is actually just the same floor, right? It could have helped if the floor texture used here was a bit different. So that's like a small subtle thing. And you know, oh, we did it again. It crashed. Everyone take a shot. Woo! Yeah. And you know, it blending in artistically, I get it, right? Like if you were an architect, you might actually do this because it looks cool, because it's kind of blending in and it's you know, it's clean, right? But from like just player guidance point of view and making you understand the space, right? Not the ideal solution, although it isn't terrible here. It's not like it breaks the game, right? What does break the game, and actually is something that makes this game completely unshippable, is the fact that this here is not aligned at all. And now that you see it, you know, you can't unsee it. You're welcome. This is the kind of shit that I pick up all the time and I have to live with. By the way, I have some marzipan here because I like marzipan. I'm gonna eat one of these. Very professional. Bit of sugar. It's funny because oddly enough, notice how the elevator texture is actually different here to the ground now, which makes it an even more interesting choice that the elevator doesn't have a different one. I also like sort of how they chain their tutorials, right? Because I think something that is relatively new in Mass Effect 2, correct me if I'm wrong, is this sort of these environmental hazards, right? I think in Mass Effect 1 they had a lot of these, you know, things can blow up and they can damage you, whatever. But here they have things like fire or electricity and all that stuff that you need to be aware of, right? And they're teaching this because like in a nice sort of order, right? After you blew up the guys with a grenade launcher weapon switching tutorial, you have this fire going around, and it's the only way, again, much like at the beginning with a piece of cover, it's the only way to progress. And that then, you know, is how you learn that, okay, you can sprint through fire. It also teaches you how to sprint. Pretty great. Hey, Ayashbek, thank you. You're looking adorable as well. Actually, also, Ayashbek, fucking, you know, what is there not to like? Thank you. There's actually a mod to fix that texture. Thank you. That's great. That's great. The community again comes in to save everyone. Do you think it's not aligning was intentional? I don't know. I don't know. It might have happened. It might have been too much of a hassle to fix it, actually. So they just kept it like that. These are not safe and harmless round shapes, though. Nope, they're not. You were talking about shape theory earlier. Yeah. Yeah. I think that really depends on context. I think you can make even circles look aggressive and angry. All right, we do this. We learn. We can sprint through fire. We can sprint. All good. This is a bit weird. I mean, sort of the flickering is sort of like a nice sort of visual storytelling thing, that the facility is a bit fucked, right? Everything is breaking apart, but at the same time it kind of made me want to look through the window and I didn't see anything. Notice how I actually moved towards the window to check it out, but there's nothing. So kind of an example of how, if misused or not placed intentionally, these kind of tools can also backfire on you, right? Which is why it's so important to be aware of the function of all of these elements, right? And their effect on how the player can play the game or will play the game, because you can shoot yourself in the foot if you misuse it. Corpoik, I did, thank you. I still I have my Excel sheet where I look at all of this kind of stuff. Hey, Lord of Rivia, welcome to the stream. Isn't it interesting how, you know, there is... So the game wants you to go into this room, right? But it's not the progression, right? So it's a room where you can learn about the lore, right? That's where Shepard can get one of these audio logs describing how Miranda basically put dead Shepard back together. And they do this in two ways, right? It's sort of like... I think it works rather nicely. Like, you look at the door, and this is it kind of touches on the whole idea of player archetypes that we talked about last week, right? What's happening with pink? Wait, is your name color brown? Okay. Player archetypes, right? So I look at the door, and it's so obviously the door that they want me to go through, right? And I, as a player, have this moment where I go, no, I will not do this. I will look for another passage first, right? And what does the game designer answer to this? They're like, okay, have at it. Here's a window. You can look into this room, right? And it has cool shit going on. Like, there's basically no way, almost, that any reasonable player wouldn't look through this window. Right? Like, it's just too inviting. Part of it is also because of the animated thing here, but also the color again, right? And just windows. You get a window, you want to look through it, right? So I move through it, and I'm like, oh, what the fuck? I can actually see... oops, let's go back. There's actually even the pop-up for an interactive at the top, right? You see, like, the tiny bit of UI thing popping up here. So I'm being told what is actually inside this room, and it's made attractive to me, right? I'm like, oh, god damn it, okay. And I'm not even sure, actually, one more thing at my behavior here. So I go look left, right. Yeah, you see even how I, like, first off, I make sure as a player, and again, that's like the split, like these split seconds thoughts that are going through your head, right? I look at it and I go, okay, I understand at this moment, okay, the level continues here, right? I make the connection already that, okay, this is how the level continues. So the chances of this door on the left being the main progression have now drastically reduced, right? Suddenly this room is more interesting because, of course, you want to do all the optional stuff first, right? Before you continue down the main path. At least for most players, that's the case. So I looked at it, I understood, okay, now I look at this, but even there, I'm doing a little wink to the right side now, just almost, you know, reconfirm myself. So now I'm okay with going through this room and entering it. Imagine for a second how this might have worked without this window, right? I might have actually looked at this corridor, and now I might have had a bit of a tiny bit of frustration, right? Because I wouldn't know, like, does the level continue to the left, or is it the right side, the optional path? Like, maybe there's just like a loot room down here, and you know, like I'm supposed to go inside, loot everything, and then come back and progress through the other door, right? And they basically prevented this level of confusion by adding this window and allowing for a bit of information to get to the player to understand what is in the next room. So I think this is a really, really kind of cool way of doing it. Exactly, research. It would, you know, it would be kind of backtracking, all of that stuff. It wouldn't be too elegant, but it's okay. You know, it's not the most horrible thing, right? Because basically you do the same backtracking when you go into this room, right? You loot it, then you go out, and you continue this way. But it's very, very foreseeable, right? It's very, very, like, amazing drawing, by the way. It's something that I, as a player, I can instantly sort of understand the scope of the path ahead of me, right? So relatively clean solution. Also, I mean, I get rewarded for something really cool. Like what is going on here, right? And you know what? So I think what these guys are trying to do here is to point my attention at the safe, right? However, I think the UI is actually not supporting that very well because the visual of the safe is not really strong. It is literally the same color than the rest of the wall, right? So it doesn't really stand out. If you squinted your eyes, actually, like I do now, you'd probably not even really, yeah, you know, it kind of disappears into the wall, right? And I suppose then that they would have like these, there's a bit of, it's very faintly visible, but there's like this UI frame around it. We're supposed to help it along. These robots are supposed to help you, to lead you through it, right? Why they would go to a save, I don't know. But yeah, you know, it's not such a big deal because you kind of spend your time in the room. I look around and like you would end up finding the safe probably, right? I skipped it intentionally here because I didn't want to spend too much time on this stuff, but it's interesting. Imagine if the safe had just a slightly different shape, a shade of gray, maybe like one button or something, like some element that created an affordance of it being maybe something you could open, right? Like a handle or maybe like a keypad, for example. That might have been something that would make me understand, okay, it's an interactive object. I should interact with it much more easily. Okay. All right. Yeah, Danya. For me, I think from our first playthrough, same thing. Which is sad. It's such a weird. It feels like such a simple thing to fix, right? But I suppose here the art side took higher priority, and they tried to fix it or help it with the UI support, right? For better or worse. Again, and it's sort of like a cool little way for the player to be pulled into the narrative a bit more, right? Because it's without actually feeling like it's being force-fed to you. Because by putting it into this optional room, but really not making this room so optional because it is so attractive for the player to actually go there, it's almost impossible not to find it. Posture check, everyone. Checks it's straight, right? Thank you, Ayashbek. You know, it's actually a really kind of cool and subtle way. And it's, again, something that I've talked about in the past. The cool part of this job is trying to make the players feel really smart and really powerful without realizing that actually there's the whole network like allowing or like a whole set of designs that actually push them to do that, right? That take you by your hand and guide you through a level without you knowing it. And I think this is like almost like a funny way of looking at this kind of stuff. It's almost like you're the guardian angel of the player, you know, like constantly making sure like, oh, come on, you can do this, you're helping him out without actually revealing the illusion. And again, as a player, it feels awesome because you feel like you explored it, right? You just stumbled something through exploration, but the game made it so it's very obvious for you to find it. I think at this point, this is the principles they're using here are clear, right? It's the same sort of, you know, like color contrast, the strong silhouette of a person standing there, right? Great silhouette that I just drew. And just a compositional theory sort of little thing. This silhouette being there is also something that pulls attention to it, right? Because you have the frame, right? I mean, I'm gonna kind of disregard this. So it's just like a square box, but out of it you have this shape protruding, right? And it kind of, you know, it breaks the pattern, and hence why you kind of look at it. It's the same way as if like a fly would sit on the middle of your monitor, right? You have this perfectly pristine monitor, and suddenly there's like this dot. It's something that you are probably able to look at. Or that probably catches your attention. My bad. We had a color change? Oh my god, sorry. So what's the color? Gray. Oh wait, no gray. Yellow. Yeah, sorry, I'm not used to using this kind of stuff. So thank you for pointing it out. So yellow it is. All right. I like how we have this moment of just staring at each other. It's like this stare down. Yeah, I did that. Time for lunch. Yeah. This is so cool. You know, it's always cool to kind of like, I like in space stations. I like in space stations basically these moments where you get to see outside, because it reminds you that you're not in a building somewhere, but you're in space, right? And it's a cool little thing to keep reminding the player after all. Imagine how without this window, you might have actually forgotten at this point, right? Because at no point other than the very beginning of this do you actually realize you're... No, I don't think even at the beginning of this you really realize that you're in a space station. So this is almost like a reveal. I mean, being in space in Mass Effect is not like a big surprise, is it? So the name generator, I think it's probably misplaced for the current game, right? If we were to play Mass Effect from the beginning and we had the the character to name, or maybe we'd play, I don't know, a game that would allow us to name elements, like Minecraft, where you can name the animals or whatever. Then you could use the name generator to put your names in there, or your desired names. For what we're doing right now, there's no real use, I will say. Yeah, I expect, but it could also be like a science lab facility on the surface of a planet, right? This game series has some that look like that. So, yeah. Man, frickin' Jacob is a better shot than I am. Okay, actually, why am I looking at all of this? This is silly. Okay, we get the tutorial where we now learn how to use spells, something that I don't think we did in the previous game. Okay. Very... You know, like, I was thinking, does this level design actually support that? Maybe slightly. I guess you could make an... Oh my god! Alright. You guys, alright. You guys unlocked the community challenge. I suppose now I need to work on setting up that secret level stream. Which is fucking awesome. You made it much quicker than I thought you would. And that's awesome. Next one will be harder though. So, for anyone not in the clear, what will now happen is that the community skill point challenge has been reached. And the idea for the first one is, or generally, right, the secret level is a thing where once you unlock it, I will prepare a special stream. That will, in this case, this one will probably occur on some weekend day. I'm not sure which one exactly, or maybe on 2, who knows. And these streams will be special in some way, right? They'll be longer and have a different theme compared to our regular streams we do here, but they will still have an educational angle to it, right? So the first one that I want to do is I want to grab some of my colleagues, not sure which ones, maybe Max, who knows, and then we will play a day of Valheim, and we will actually determine like a fictional sort of framework and a set of requirements for a little village that we will build. Requirements like you may have in video game development, right? And then we will build this village and we will describe our thought process that goes into making this village, right? Like the reason we placed the tavern in the way we did, the way how we arrange our composition, you know, in the ways that we've been talking about here. I will go into minute detail of why I'm placing doors in a specific way and why I'm placing torches at specific places. And I'm hoping to have this package in a nice laid-back, chill stream, because Valheim, after all, you know, can be a really nice, relaxing kind of game. Very laid-back, very easy. And we'll also probably set up some specific skill points rewards for this, right? So maybe you can name the animals in that game, right? And mess with our building a bit. That would be really fun, I think. When that exactly will happen, I don't know. I will try to schedule this. It, of course, also depends on the schedules of the colleagues I will ask. But I'm obligated to do it now. We'll do it. And when we will do it, before that, I will let you know, of course. Congratulations again to everyone for unlocking it. I am actually really, really impressed that it was so fast and also hyped. I am hyped as fuck for this. Valheim, Schmalheim. Schmalheim, very good. This is the name of your dick, Fabian. I got it. All right. Hi, Masos. Nice. So nice to see you. It's awesome. The secret level is unlocked. Yes. Fucking cool. All right. Educational Dark Souls loot fan art. I'm not sure. Okay. Okay, we did this. I need to switch back to this. Yes, Shepherd's alive. I think the level... Ooh. Here's a small thing I kind of like. So the story at this point is then that Wilson is calling for help, I think, right? Because he's being attacked. And we need to join him quickly, you know. And I like how they're using like these decals and the ammo even. And this is almost like a trail, right? To not only add a bit of visual storytelling, there was combat here, but to also basically literally place these breadcrumbs that the player can tag along to guide you to the right direction, right? Ah, yeah, I was talking about the dead space. Oh, yeah. Here is the moment where I think the robot animation is also a cool thing, right? Imagine that this robot was instantly like standing and able to shoot me, right? So I like, it might feel a bit unfair, right? I might actually not go inside of the room to fight him, but I might actually back out, which here I don't think would be a huge issue, but it's definitely something that you should be aware of, that this can happen, right? And just by having this little animation where we see him build up, we're able to understand, oh, there's movement, oh, there's an enemy, oh, I need to get ready for combat, right? And luckily, there's also this cover placed right in front of us, yeah? So that's nice. Notice also how the cover is, I think these pipes of, what's the color, by the way? It's yellow, right? Sorry. So so this is actually also cover, right? But they're sort of using Dafkin. Thank you for the bits. That's very nice. They're also using sort of like the different visuals of this to sort of better signpost the place where you should cover, right? It's not a huge deal here, but it does make it look a bit more like valid, solid cover than the pipes are, right? Like if given the choice to hide behind this section on the left and the section on the right, you'd probably be more inclined to hide on the left side, right? Right, and I shoot the dude. And I finish this, right? So again, it's actually kind of cool to see how this simple thing like the animation actually, you know, smoothens out this gameplay experience quite a bit. Huh, that's a bit odd. Let me actually fast forward this. Is that really so? This is almost a bit, it's architecturally like tiny bit that is a bit weird here is how this door is actually partially behind these containers, right? Like you'd think that if someone built this place, you'd probably have the door align with the path on the floor, but this is actually offset. Might just be because of their toolkits, like the asset pieces, the 3D pieces they put around, and how they work. It's not like a big deal, as you see. It's just like a little architectural oddity I'm noticing. This is really what you come for here. I know. This is actually the big perks of joining this stream. It's not just to learn about design of how video games are made, but to point out all these little OCD problems, right? So that you tonight, will sleep well thinking of all of these little instances of issues. Ayashbek, by the way, I saw your question regarding Elden Ring. I think it's like, I'm not sure. I think we'll see it at some point in this. I'm hoping. I'm hyped for that. Here, I remember this. So we go up the stairs. And yeah, I mean, I'm already kind of looking into this direction, but even... It's very subtle. I think it only barely works. It's okay, right? Sort of how here... There's a couple of elements that want to put emphasis on this that would make this left leaning, I would say, right? Part of this is, of course, the line work here that comes from the shadow. I also think it's sort of how this stuff creates a bit of a line, right? You could argue this is towards the right as well, but the reason why I'm feeling it's left leaning is because actually they're creating even like a shape with sort of these papers, right? Now this seems a bit abstract, but I have been personally using even ground assets and dirt in Cyberpunk to create this kind of effect, and also in Witcher 3, right? Just little rocks and pebbles on the floor to subtly create this sort of line work. So I know people do this, right? It's not just randomly placed paper. I mean, in this case it may be, but it seems like it isn't to me, right? So together with this sort of you do create a bit of a leaning towards the left here. Also, I mean, there's a slight contrast here. You have the logo, of course. There's a few elements, and the reason why I think this is kind of nice is not because you can look out of the window, but because it allows you again to find this little loot room where again there's a bit of lore, right? You learn more about the process that was taking place to, or that has taken place to fix Shepard up. And you see, of course, dead people here. So you knew, okay, for combat, it's all, the narrative sort of is supported through this, right? And then you're able to just move back and continue on your main track. Clean, very clean, pretty straightforward design. And again, because of the way this is shaped, you don't really end up in a situation where you go through the right door first and miss on the path on the left. Yeah, I'm actually looked at this to kind of confirm it, right? So basically, what actually is probably a better function of this is you following the trail of paper. So you go up, and curvature in this or not doesn't matter, right? Even that, chances are a player may look at the paper and just follow that along, and that will result in you just being breadcrumbed through this actual literally like your hands on Gretel, right? You're following the breadcrumbs. Yeah, that's the correct fairy tale. Okay, you have this. Yeah, Wilson. Again, they're doing tutorials very much more straightforward, right? And here actually, it's interesting. So we were looking at the save earlier, right? Which almost didn't have anything to kind of signpost it as a save. But I feel like the med thing does a much better job with its color of red here, like sort of characteristic shape, and even like the almost stereotypical sort of plus shape, right? That we sort of associate with medical kind of stuff. Yeah. And this is the sort of visual language that you as a designer need to build with your interactive parts of the game, right? Because in by itself, like how is the player otherwise able to quickly read a room and understand what is interactive and what isn't, right? And by reading, I mean understanding the function, like what is interactive, but also what the function of it is without having to think too much about it, right? Sound quad, yeah, that's a good point, I think.
Thanks, Shepard. Never thought you'd save my life.
Yep. Oh, sorry. I got totally pulled into the scene here. Okay, let's continue. Is there much more here? No, I don't think there. Ah, right. Oh shit, there is. There's this room, right? Oh yeah, again, the whole thing with the robot waking up, instead of being fired at immediately, which may result in me seeking cover outside of the room, right here, or pulling back even further. Remember how it was last time we played. Again, this whole animation of them building up allows me to more accurately assess the threat and make a decision, right? And I go, okay, these are two robots, it's fine. I actually don't see the dude up here, right? Because I'm focusing on the movement ahead of me. And you see I'm moving in, right? And at that moment, I sort of get attacked from the right. I'm close to cover. And they actually successfully drew me into the room for the fight. Something that the first game struggled with immensely. So this is a huge improvement. Actually, something that I will want to take a personal mental note of here as well. That having enemies that are sort of inactive is a great, like before the combat starts, or like don't immediately start shooting at you, can be a great tool to aid with getting the player into the combat space, right? I'm thinking that it might be, for example, two enemies, like maybe it's not robots, maybe it's two enemies talking, and as you go into the room, they notice you, but they have a whole little thing where, like they go, oh, what the fuck? They turn around like, oh, bah, it's him, all right, and then they pull out their guns and start shooting, right? Similar effect, packaged slightly differently, and that's how you could apply it to, other games. Cool stuff. I wasn't aware of that. That's definitely a neat little thing to put into the toolbox. Quite difficult with some Mass Effect assets from a distance to see what is interactive. Like some compartments are designed exactly the same, but nothing to loot. Haha. Yes. It seems to be a problem that they try to mostly resolve with the UI guidance, right? You have like from a relatively large distance, you see some sort of visual highlighter around this. But something that I think the series is sort of almost infamous for is how obvious the arenas are, right? Like with crates and stuff being placed in a way that makes it really obvious, like, oh, okay, there's a fight about to happen here, right? And I think this is something that games in general nowadays have a better time with, right? It's usually a bit harder to tell when a game is just like, like when an arena is a combat place and when it is just a visual set piece, which makes the excitement a bit better. And partially, I think this is mostly because now we can just use more decoration to hide this kind of stuff, right? And spend more resources on this. And we're also, of course, more aware of that. The more games progress, you know, in their fidelity, the more obvious things like these, like the cover placement, making it look like an arena, become a thing, right? And the more we need to tackle that. Also here again, by the way, with the robots getting up, right? If they were already shooting me as I was walking up the stairs, I might not walk up the stairs, right? But by doing this, I'm sort of okay with going closer, getting into cover, and then starting the fight. Cool. What's your least favorite part when designing a room or level? Sunquad nailed it. Pretty much. Documentation. I think that's a really good point. Like, so this is something that many designers have, like, because it's a creative job, right? And people find their creative juices in various different ways. And personally, this is not like a general thing, right? Like, oftentimes it is being recommended that any designer, 2D, like level designer, will start out on a napkin sketch of a 2D sketch of a location. And while I've done that in the past and will do that every once in a while, for me personally, I prefer jumping straight into 3D, having a solid basic 3D kit that you can use to quickly just, you know, throw together basic rooms and shapes and all that, because that for me is more fun, and it allows me to get to like an understanding of the size, the scope, the feeling of a space much quicker than on a 2D space. But again, that's like a personal preference, and you know, sometimes in some jobs, it may not, you know, like sometimes your personal preference in that regard isn't so important, because the function of a 2D drawing is ultimately also to have something that you can communicate to other people from other disciplines, right? So I can take the 2D design or the draft and show it to the quest designer, right? And then talk to him about it and go, hey, this is what I'd like to do. This is the room for this. This is the place for that, right? And for that, it can be helpful to not do too much work, real work, sort of, before you actually settle on a good direction. But I think also that for me personally, it comes with experience, right? Like there's certainly sort of things I've learned in the past that allow me to better, to not spend too much time on this kind of stuff, and even when it is in 3D, so I don't end up wasting time when the direction doesn't work out and we need to change stuff. Yeah. Is that something where VR could help make your work easier? Depends. I don't necessarily think so. There is definitely something where in VR, if you were to build stuff, you know, you see this with Tilt Brush is being brought up by Casey Kitty. It's kind of cool to see things shape up around you, right? And you getting a better feeling for a space, but I'm not sure if it's mega helpful for a game like this, right? Okay, Google Tilt Brush, if you don't know what it is, it's a cool VR application. It allows you to draw in 3D. Yeah, this room is just freaking, like we talked about it. It's weird. Like, is this an office? If it is, why is there no chairs? Why is the computer, like, this all kinds of weird. Okay. Same principles here. I want to skip ahead a bit. Okay, I think this is the finish line of this bit. Yep. Okay, cool. Oh, posture check, Corpoik. Thank you very much. Everyone, sit straight. It's healthier. Ooh. Okay. How do I do this? All right, let's do 50 minutes. I want to rush through one more level and then take a brief look at analysis, because I thought it did some cool stuff beyond this sort of part. Man, the Omega level is also something I would really like to... Okay, I'm calling it. We might need to do another one on Mass Effect 2 before we do Progress 3. Let me actually put that on a vote. Right now. New poll. Should we do another ME2 stream next week or jump straight to or do ME3 instead? Does that fit? Yeah. All right. ME2, ME3. All right. All right, you guys. Go. Go. I want to see what's happening. Spark, bye. Vote, and then leave. Thank you for joining by today. Thank you very much. It really means a lot to me to have so many awesome regulars also drop by and learn this stuff with me. It's super cool. Wow, this is really close. Oh. Wow. This is really evenly split. Come on, everyone. Interact, vote. There's still quite a few more who could vote. There's many who haven't voted. There's a couple more seconds. Is this really it? No! Don't... Oh, you... Well, then what are we gonna do now? Oh, come on. This is what you get when you don't vote, people. That puts me in a very weird position. Ah, shit. I don't have time on Sunday. Wait. Sapphire, it was this coming Sunday that Sasko isn't streaming, right? You know what? Maybe we'll do somewhat not as late as Pavel would do on Sunday, but maybe we'll do like an afternoon, depending on when I get home, because I'm visiting my parents on the weekend. Depending on when I get home, let's do it like this. We'll do Mass Effect on Sunday afternoon, for a bit. Mass Effect 2, sorry, and then we'll do Mass Effect 3 on Wednesday. So anyone who doesn't want to see Mass Effect 2 stream, will just drop by, right? Don't drop by or whatever. Feel free to tune in though, like I'd gladly have you. And everyone else will return to our regular scheduled program on Wednesday then. Okay. Let's do... Is that okay? Do you feel okay with this? I hope you do. I feel like this is a great compromise. And I mean, the Mass Effect 2 one on Sunday may not even be as long. Maybe we'll transition into more casual sort of let's play format later on and just have more chill conversation, you know, more chat focused, more me playing my personal playthrough of this. We'll see. Okay. So we do another, let's say, 15 minutes of this level. I'll rush through it a bit. We need to turn on the game audio again. Command Cookie, hello, welcome. I love the username. Is it Commander Cookie? It is now. It is Commander Cookie now. Spark, thank you for dropping by. Have a good night. Take care. Okay. Can I actually pass through? By the way, so I'll do live commentary here, right? We dropped out on this planet. This is our space shuttle. We're coming out. This is literally how the level starts, right? And one thing I like is sort of that it gives me an overview of my goal before I can actually get there, right? Like I can see this thing, the gateway, and I can actually look around and kind of get like a rough idea of how I will get here, right? Like, probably I can go around like this and then goes here. And it's kind of cool that I am blocked here. But what is actually really bad, I would consider, is just having these invisible walls, right? as a rule of thumb, I feel like if you place assets and elements, if it looks like you can go through it, you should be able to go through it, right? And if they didn't want me to pass through it, they should have just kind of closed this up. Literally put a crate or something, I don't know, right in front of here. This feels really weird, and that I would consider an immersion breaker. And it's especially sad because it looks like like something so simple to fix, right? And at the same time, it would seem so intuitive to me that I could just kind of drop down here, which I can't. The game wants me to go through this. I also would like to point out this subtle sort of way they're highlighting the door, right? But it's actually slightly brighter than the rest of the metal, which is a funny thing to me, having seen the safe earlier, right? Where that absolutely wasn't the case, where you wondered, couldn't they have done that, right? But here, they actually utilize that. So there's probably some interesting development story why the safe didn't work out. Oh, look at that. Ooh.
Looks like everyone just got up and left right in the middle of dinner.
Okay.
Strange.
Yes,
No
what?
bodies, no structural
Stay
damage,
hydrated.
no signs of battle.
Here, I mean, the gate is also quite, like, you know, they utilize a couple of techniques to highlight the gate. Not only is it the big-ass gate in the middle, right, but it also uses a very different texture than the surroundings, making it pop out a bit more, right? And again, they have established consistency with this sort of little element, which signposts to me a door. This, not a door, even though it looks like one. I know, like, I don't even question that I cannot open it. Whereas with the green element, I have understood at this point in the game that, yeah, it's actually something I can use to continue. Notice how they're upping the difficulty here. This is literally the next level after what we've just played. And now we have the enemies actually shooting straight away. But you see what it actually does also is that I don't feel like moving forward. Fascinating. This is really interesting, I think. You know, like, literally, it feels okay for them to kind of make it a bit more difficult by not having this animation. This moment might have also very well just been done by a different designer who wasn't utilizing that animation, who just had different sort of slightly ideas or philosophies as to how he wants to, or they want to kind of tackle these enemy placements. But you saw instantly how it actually creates the sort of scenario that we've been talking about earlier, with the player not joining or going into the arena but wanting to fall back, right? Because suddenly you get shot at and you're like, no, 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 no. Why do I think this is contrary to what they might have kind of wanted to do is sort of here, right? You see, all right. Hang on. Gonna clear the area from enemies.
Trouble ahead.
Jeez, he doesn't do staircases.
Those mechs shouldn't have been hostile. They should have recognized us as human.
Someone reprogrammed them to attack on sight. We're not alone here.
I like how they're sort of signposting the cover by literally using something very different than before, right? It's not a crate, it's not this kind of railing. It is very unique sort of looking object so far. Oh, there's some more over there. But I don't think we've seen any of this so far leading up here. So in a way, they have something prepared for players who are more close range combat. And I suppose you could argue this might be an instance of them being aware of the player archetypes, right? Remember what I was talking about last week with understanding the possible player archetypes that will play your game, or that your game might have, and using this understanding to cater and design the level for them, right? So you might have a player like a more, I suppose I would be a like relatively average player, right? The kind that's sort of like, hey, I get shot at, so I'm like sticking here. And as you see, the level actually works. I can fight very well from these two spots, and it actually isn't a bad combat experience. But there might also be the Rambo kind of player, right? So that I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna kill them, I'm badass, right? And then at this point, I suddenly would get overwhelmed by the enemies on the right being shot at. And what did they do? They already placed cover on my right, but also on my left, so that when I get into this cover, I'm safe from both directions, and I can actually, you know, react to it. And I'm not just fucked because I like to play in a Rambo Terminator kind of way. This is literally the concept I talked about last week, put into practice. If you don't remember this, feel free to check the VOD. I sadly don't have time today to go over the entire concept of player archetypes again today, but if you want, you may bring it up on Sunday, where it will be a bit more chill. Then I can talk about it again if there's any desire for it. Yeah, again, sort of the whole, you know, lights to guide the player forward.
I see you, Shepard.
And here again, they're using.
Taking fire.
That just looked so dorky. And here again, they're sort of using the sort of resurrection of these robots, right? But what I also like what it does, because notice how it actually triggered relatively late. It actually helps the atmosphere in this place, because the idea is that we are here to investigate some weird shit happening to this colony, right? They have just disappeared. We don't know what happened. And there's a bit of a tension they're trying to build here, right? And by having these enemies surprise me, right? Because I'm like, oh, nothing. Oh, suddenly enemies, I get attacked. It puts more tension on me, right? It makes me a bit more tense. I get shocked a bit. So it all helps the atmosphere of the whole, that they're trying to build. Which is cool. Yay!
Look right there.
Praza, you said you'd let me handle this.
Tali!
Shepard?
Cerberus rebuilt.
One of our...
If Vitor survives.
Sorry.
Vitor's the only one.
No, Praza.
Make sure to
Will
keep
do.
it radio.
Oh, I'm already facing this way? Yeah. Nice. Okay. Going
Be
forward.
careful, Shepard. There's a squad of security drones up ahead.
Thanks for the warning.
Kind of cool, right? Right. See, first off, like they put the door here and it's signposted, you know, very obviously for me. Okay, I need to go there. But by looking at it, they also put the enemies right in front of it, sort of like, and now I know, okay, there's a threat around the corner. Again, building the tension a bit, right? But also making me aware, like it's almost impossible not to see these enemies, right? Hey, Anjay, welcome back.
We've been spotted.
Oh. Again, like these little surprises, right? This dude won't kill me, but it sort of again puts a bit of tension on me. Ah, this safe actually has this yellow bit. Weird. So there is something. It just wasn't obvious in the rest of the surroundings. Ah, they're blocking the path back. Okay. Kind of trying to... Oh, I see. Oh, this is... Yeah, okay. Because I was kind of wondering. So, there's something to learn about here. Here in regards to layouts, like LD layouts, right? So basically what the game needs me to do here, I need to go here, right? Like behind this wall on this side. Something that is in... Where's the robot sounds? Oh, what the fuck? Okay. Something that is very confusing usually to players, and we will go into 2D... Oops, sorry. Fuck, I opened the task manager. It is 2D drawing time, guys. Come on. Okay, like so. Yes. Well, yellow is maybe not the best color here, but it'll have to do. So, basically, what is really confusing when you make a level to players is 180-degree turns, right? So if you have a room, and sometimes for... Alright, guys, I'll use green now. For architectural reasons, it might be that... you know, like for a variety of different reasons, it might be that how do I best draw this? Okay, that you okay, there's a wall here, right? And the objective is here. For whatever reason. It might be that the cinematics guys or whatever needed to be there, right? And I'm here. It might also be because of the layout of the building, because placing it like, you know, maybe like the building wouldn't have a different section like that would expand over itself, right? So you actually need to follow the building frame, right, to create a believable space. So the only real way to do it is by creating this kind of placement, which results in the player having to do this sort of 180-degree turn on themselves. And 180 degrees is something that in games usually feels very unintuitive. Think about all of the times that you have consciously literally just turned 180 degrees and went into the other direction. And you'll probably realize that in video games, you'll not do that very often, right? It can be disorienting, and it is also, again, nothing really that is intuitive to players to do. So how do I solve this situation then? Right? Like if I am by the layout of a place sort of required to create this 180 degree, right? I need the player to move this way. But how do I make it so the player doesn't, we retain the intuitivity of the playthrough, but also, yeah, I think that's my point. While still making it intuitive, while still keeping the sort of to the frame that we're building here, to the design sort of requirements that we have. Any ideas? Any ideas to tackle the problem of the 180-degree turn? Use rotating platforms or stairs. Actually, rotating platforms probably not a bad idea, but it's probably rotating platforms aren't very universal, right? Like, you know, I don't know, Cyberpunk isn't exactly the game to have rotating platforms, so suddenly having them might be weird. It might not, right? Or in Witcher, it might also be weird, right? It's definitely not something that works everywhere. In Portal, I could see that, right? I could see that happening. Okay, so one of the tricks we can utilize as designers is to sort of deconstruct the 180-degree turn into smaller 90-degree turns, right? So basically, instead of forcing the player or expecting them to do one turn, we actually make them go in 90-degree turns, right? So we might do something like this, where we actually close this, and then there's a little room here with an opening, right? So now the player goes through this to this, right? Then you add a bit of a corridor maybe, and another room. Oh well, this is architecturally doesn't really make sense. Then you add one room here and one here, and suddenly it's a much wider curve. But to the player, it feels like he's, you know, not doing these 180-degree turns at all, but he's actually doing these sort of 90-degree turns, which feels to the player just like going forward. It doesn't feel like turning around, right, in on yourself, but it actually feels like going forward. And I'll draw this in red to emphasize my point, right? So that's a cool way to sort of break this down. Now, in the past, also, another little concept that, and some to a degree also today, that level designers try to employ is we also need to think of performance, right? So having long lines of sight would mean that a lot of stuff may need to be rendered. So having, I don't know, like one bad color. Does blue actually work better on this? Yes. So we may have like a room like this, and then there's a door here, long corridor, and then another room like this, right? And maybe the doors can be open or whatever, or there shouldn't be any doors. It's just a tunnel, right? So it's literally just a tunnel, disregard doors. Having a long line of sight where you can look right into this room may be problematic for a variety of different reasons. Maybe you don't want to reveal what is in it from this sort of distance. Maybe it should be a bit of a surprise, right? Maybe it's a performance issue, right? Loading too much stuff can be problematic, especially if there's maybe a window here, right, that renders an entire city in the background, right? That then it might be like really difficult for the... Sorry, I lost my train of thought because I got a mod message right now. Okay, but it's not so important right now. So yeah, and then it might be really difficult for performance, right? Something that we need to take into account. So what in the past you see a lot of games do, and again to a lesser degree today because we have gotten more clever with streaming and all of that stuff, is to utilize sort of the layout of the level and the way you place rooms to break these line of sights. An example would be to have entrances not in the same straight line, right? So if you have a room, for example, you may have an entrance here and an entrance here, right? Which allows the player to zigzag through. It breaks the line of sight into the next section. Also makes it a bit more interesting, right? And another one maybe, and again, there's a variety of different ways you can do this, right? Like if you, and you've seen this one before, I'm sure. So if you have a corridor, right, sometimes they'll just put something in the middle, right? And perhaps even expand it like this. So it's sort of like that, right? Man, drawing with a mouse is really bad. Maybe I should get myself like a little drawing pad to do this. And then you can sort of expand it a bit more, so you really break down this line of sight, right? You know, make the block a bit larger. And that way now the player will have to actually move through here, and it also breaks the line of sight. The reason why I'm pointing this out is because it's nice to be aware of these little tricks, right? Because maybe your game may require it, but also because we can actually see this utilized here, right? I don't get to see further than this. There's a bit of a zigzag going on here, and it's the whole thing with the 90-degree angles, right? Like sort of, I get to do one 90-degree turn, I'm going straight, and I get to do another 90-degree turn. It doesn't feel like a full 180. And then when I go through here, you see exactly this sort of concept with the zigzag going on here. Not only is it a bit more interesting to play, it isn't necessarily the most believable layout, right? Architecture might have actually just used the more direct route here, but, you know, it's kind of cool to walk this, but it also creates this... oh, shit. I was so busy looking at that. Interesting. So we actually have this thing going on here, right? Like I look at this thing, I'm like, oh, okay, this is cool. Then I get shot at, and I get drawn over to this sort of combat.
There we go.
Wow, this... Oh wow, they never end.
Here we go.
Okay.
Shepard, Praza and his squad rushed on ahead. I told them to wait, but they wouldn't listen.
Yeah.
away before you get
This
here.
is definitely for
should have
performance
expected this.
and also for the LODs, I
Still catch
suppose,
them.
right? Because notice, like, if we actually notice how it does obscure the vision. Oh, I can't actually go back. The vision really strongly on what is behind, right? Like, if I actually now go there, you will see the reveal of a larger section, right? Like all of this kind of stuff that is now, you know, has had time to properly stream in and all of that stuff, which is cool. Also, I suppose by being sort of invited through the color to go into this optional room, you know, you spend more time looking at this than checking out how objects are streaming in. And you're being guided to this med kit. And again, one last bit is that the main progression is actually through this door, right? And while it is there, the visual stress is on the right side because it's literally an open door, but through the color and all of that stuff, right? So you actually naturally gravitate to the optional section where you find a health kit item, do some exploration, and then continue, and you feel like you know, did a nice job. I had a question regarding the green symbols in front of the doors. Don't they kind of stunt exploration, since I would start to only look for the green symbols? You could argue that. But really what I would say to as a counter argument is that they give you control, right? Because you as a player understand exactly what is going on, what you can do. And this is what enables you to more comfortably go away from the main path, right? Without these, you may look around and go like, I don't know, I think I could go there, right? But you're like, this may be the optional path or whatever, and you would constantly sort of question your own choices and how you move through the level. But by doing it like this, it becomes more clear, allowing you to focus more on making your own choices, right? And consciously deciding not to follow up on this and do other stuff. And hence, it actually puts a bit less of anxiety and less stress on this, right? Because you kind of know what you're in for. And it's really easy to argue like you did and go, yeah, but, you know, my exploration. It's the same kind of thing that I said about designers becoming too proud, right? But ultimately, you see here, and I think that's why it's great you brought it up. It's a great example to kind of show how by actually helping the player out here, by making things easier, you actually cause for a better, more player-friendly, and ultimately then more fun experience. Nice little window. I suppose you could fight back at the drones here. Maybe this arena was meant to be sort of more dynamic. Okay, I'll play a few more minutes. Oh yeah, I see. Jeez, I'm... Oh, bullet time. I forgot about this. I really think that, in a way, these mechanical robots are also
There we go.
good at priming the player to use the abilities, because these are a bit tougher than the earlier ones. But they are a one-shot when using the overload ability. So it kind of, you know, is a way of teaching me to rely on these abilities and use them more.
We'll take cover by the doors. Shepard, you take point.
Eh? Yeah.
Going to cover.
Right. Take point, Shepard. We'll cover the door.
If you really think about this place is weird, right? Like you have
Cover by the doors. Shepard, you
you
take
have this
point.
big ass gate over there, which usually these gates you would think they're here for transport, like for vehicles to pass through, right? But at the same time you kind of, or like a huge amount of people. But at the same time you have this
Take
blocker,
point,
so you
Shepard.
think,
We'll
okay,
cover the
maybe
door.
not so much vehicle friendly, right? And so it's more like a people's space here. So you have the food stuff, like these areas to kind of show it's maybe like a break area, like the
Take cover by the
what
doors.
is this
You take
place? Is it
point.
for storage? Is it for, like, why is there a ramp? Are cars going through this? Doesn't really look like it because there's a blocker here that plays as a cover. So there's these sort of weird little inconsistencies.
Take point, Shepard. We'll cover the door.
They're not a big deal when you play here, but you know, it's these little things that kind of really help elevate your level design and world, you know, to another level. No pun intended. This got surprisingly violent.
That mech's got heavy armor plating. Those Quarians never stood a chance.
This is gonna be one tough son of a bitch to take down.
This is something we struggle with as well, right? Like you'd think these guys would be shouting at each other over this distance and with this scenario, but they're actually just regularly talking. They're you know, like you have this in Witcher 3 as well. You know, a situation where people would be shouting. Sometimes Geralt is just being very quiet. Ooh. Oh
Here goes. Careful, Shepard.
Why is this always on cooldown? What the fuck? Would you stop using that on your own? So this is the first enemy that actually kind of forces you to move around the arena a bit, right? In the way that it just keeps moving at you. Oh. You know, and it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. It's a bit different. I'm just too OP. I'm just too OP here. Okay. Interesting. I suppose we could also use the insides of this area to get some supplies, some new ammo. Could I have used my rig? Oh, wow. I have. Since when do I have all of these other weapons? What? I have lots of other weapons. I didn't know. I still have the grenade launcher. Dude, when I was playing this, I died like 2 or 3 times when I first played through because I was playing on hard. And if I had known that I had all these things, that would have made it a bit more easy.
Nopi, swarm's coming. Storm coming. Storm of swarm.
Yes.
You don't know.
Yes, yes,
You
yes.
didn't see
I just want to see if the level
but I
continues
see
or if it's
everything.
done here. I don't think so.
What the hell is that?
Mirosi, by the way, I'm not sure if you...
Collectors have
you're
advanced
back from
technology.
work. Yeah, welcome to the
They
chat.
have
Welcome.
secret
Thank you for
storm.
joining by.
What happened next?
I think that's probably all we're getting out of him.
Dropping by. Joining in.
Won't hurt him.
Praza was an idiot.
English,
and
man.
he
How
and
does
his
it
men
work?
paid for it.
We're ready for pickup.
Okay, I think this is it. Ooh, creepy collector tease. Oh, it's all creepy, this game. By the way, if you haven't played Mass Effect yet, I wholly recommend it. It's so good. It's so good. Even with these things that I'm pointing out, it is still a fantastic game series. I'm replaying it like privately right now as well, and I'm still on the first one, but I'm having so much fun with it. It's absurd.
You and I have different methods, but I can't argue with your results.
Just look at this. Look at the elusive man being just a
You ever think about
mysterious,
playing nice
elusive
once in a while?
badass.
Diplomacy is great when it works, but difficult when everyone already perceives you as a threat.
Exactly.
But more importantly,
Tell me what you know about these collectors.
Yeah, I don't
when
want
the
to.
transactions are complete,
This
they
is it.
disappear as quickly as they arrive.
This is it. We're going to
Beyond the
chatting.
unmapped Omega-4 relay. Until now, we've had no evidence of direct collection.
I'll go into the actually
Collectors are definitely.
I will
crap.
continue.
I'll skip through it. You know, I'll go into the main menu. Oh god damn it! Can you... Oh yeah, look. This feels like a fitting background music to have. Is it too loud? Is it too loud? No? Okay. All right. So we're wrapping this up now slowly. We'll do like a 20 minutes just chatting and a bit of, you know, exiting, answering questions, going over what we've learned today, perhaps. And yeah, then we'll go to bed, I suppose, right? Take care, Sapphire. Again, thank you so much for dropping by. It really means the world to me. Enjoyed the stream. It's been a great game. Thanks for the VIP and hope you have a great night. Yep, you too. Now there's no music. I fucking hate this game. Wait, let me go into the main menu. All right, do you guys have any questions as to what you have seen today? Exit to main menu. Yes. Great background music. All right. Someone was giving out hugs. That is great. Toastbot is doing a better job today. I don't think we have had too many people punted. It did some at some point, but I hope that felt reasonable. I just tuned in and out of context. I heard I hate this game. No, plot C4. No, I love this game. Oh my god. Yeah, that out of context, not so good. Not so good. Dragon G33. Any plans on making RPG in space from CDPR? I don't know. I don't know. Fippy, that was a nice stream. Wasn't that active because I still need to play ME2? Yes, 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 yes. If you haven't, do it. Do it. Like, they just get better, actually. Like, say what you want about Mass Effect 3. I still think 99% fantastic game. Freaking awesome. Okay. Ask your first question. I like that one. Which was the first question? Where's the first question? Hey Miles, do you prefer to level design for open world games or non-open world games? I think level design shines more in linear games. Do you agree? That is a great question. They're different. They're just very different. You know, when you look at a game like for Cyberpunk, for example, right? And to a lesser extent also Witcher 3, you kind of do both, really, right? You have sections and levels that have a more linear flow, right? Where the player is locked into a location for a quest, right? And then you do more of the sort of classical level design for what you would call linear level design, I suppose, in your question. Whereas then there's also a huge part of open world design. We actually nowadays at CD Projekt, back in like for The Witcher 3 that wasn't the case, but now we actually have a whole department which we call the open world designers that tackles the whole, you know, like planning of open world content and placement, the density, how it connects, right, and what you experience there, and the level designers then sort of make that stuff. So if we think of Cyberpunk, it's a game that has like open world activities which we call gigs, right? They're like mini missions essentially, and the open world designers take over the kind of the role of what a quest designer would do at our company, right? They come up with all the story and the sort of narrative implementation, and the level designer provides the location for it, right? So they would tell me, hey, there's this gig and they're doing this and this and this is the story of the gig. We need this kind of location, and that's what we need to build. So we come up with a design, and you kind of do this kind of stuff, right? And then you build the location from there. That is the translation of this kind of stuff. The whole, but the open world design is also a lot of, you know, allowing the player to connect the dots, you know, being able to find content, right, outside of the UI, right? It connects to allowing to designing a world that allows the player to navigate it without feeling lost, right? One thing how we try to tackle that in Cyberpunk is by having these districts be so visually different, right? That it's, you know, that's one of the methods that allow you to know where you are at any given time, and things like that. And so to relate that back to your question, as you see, they are very, very different, and I think both of them are really a lot of fun to do. And I think this is why the kind of games we make are so fun for me to work on, because you get to do both of these things, right? It's not just one over the other. And I think just doing one might maybe not be as fun, you know, than doing both and switching between these, right? So that's really, really, really cool, I think, that I'm able to, or, you know, have the privilege of being able to do both of these kind of design techniques, methods, types, whatever. As a question, maybe a summary on how they improve between one and yeah, let's think about it. So one thing, actually, maybe, you know, like Lieberwurst Johnny, by the way, thank you for following. I dig the name. Maybe I can ask the question back to the chat, right? What is something that you noticed today, you know, what you would take from this stream that the designers, and for all I know, it might not be the same set of people between Mass Effect 1 and 2, right? But the things that the developers of these games have done better and improved upon on the in the second in regards to, in comparison to the first one. If I really did announce created a new a private Discord server for this stuff, I would probably announce it on the stream. Outer Wilds is a game I have on my list, which I really, really want to play. Like, I've heard many, many great things about it, and it's really high up in the games I want to play. Yeah, I was admiring the floor in the last section. Are these textures painted or photos? What? What? Which section? You're trolling me. Okay. So the aesthetics. I'm so much drawn to the game visuals. Oh yeah, that's something that's really much better. The burning building and must have known how it focused onto something else. Yeah. So, you know, to sort of summarize that, right? Like, one thing they have been much more aware of in the second game, right, is just generally this staging of and the combination of the level design with the action that they're trying to show, be it the scenes, right, like the robots killing all the guys, right? It's not, it was set up in a way that it was hard to miss. There was a lot of stuff added from a level design perspective with the lighting, the shapes. You know, we've talked about this, that guided the player's eye to these specific sections, allowing you to more intuitively witness these scenes, right? Which is a huge improvement compared to the first game, where you will remember that section with the husks, these robots popping up seemingly out of nowhere, right? Because the camera doesn't actually really connect there at all. Then generally the utilization of level design techniques to improve player guidance, right? Be it the spawning points of enemies, the way they spawn them to shoot at you to guide you in the right directions, right? But in a non-punishing way, by using just maybe a single one, by using lights placement, color theory, shape theory, and all of these stuff, composition, to create more intuitive level flows, utilizing these tools to solve basically problematic spaces in terms of, hey, this is the optional, this is the main path, but here feel free to go to the optional one first, right? So there's a lot of sort of trickery going on there, which worked really nicely, I think. And yeah, I mean, the tutorial is just flat out a better tutorial, right? I think, in many, many ways. And one other thing is that for the most part, they seem to have had good approaches to, you know, solving sort of the door problem, which is sort of getting the player into the arena, right? Like past the door that opens in front of them into the room where the fight is, through usage of the enemies. And I think this is great. It felt in-world, right? Because they used the robots and their booting up mechanic or animation, so it didn't feel out of place. And it allowed us to really ease players into the room, right? By allowing them to get them to more quickly and more accurately assess the threat that is in front of them. And together with that, you have noticed that probably the combat was also much more refined, right? They didn't just throw a shit ton of random enemies at you, but they sort of really thought about the enemy composition. In the beginning, not so much. It's mostly the same kind of robot. But here in the second bit, where they throw in this the dogs and also the flying robots, right, to create a bit of a different challenge. And yeah, like they do more wave-based stuff, which causes, you know, it makes the combat be a bit more smooth and a nicer experience. Which, if you think about the bionic terrorist example from the other day, is a night and day difference, right? For anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, I highly encourage you to check out the stream from last week. The VOD is on my video page, and you will see sort of like the very clearly, I think, the differences. Yeah, what else? Even Mario Kart had it. Really? What? We heard. I have a weird. Okay, so let me scroll up a bit because my long monologue made me miss a lot. Maybe they improved where the player should focus more, or maybe they improved where the player should use cover. So yeah, no Yakas, you basically, you know, you nailed it. Oh, sending a single YouTube link and all messages are gone. I'm so sorry. Yeah, links is difficult. Is a level designer typically assigned to a specific area of the game? It seems difficult for big open world games not to step on each other's toes. Yeah, so first of all, that we assign people to different kinds of areas of a game, but what we also have ties into our version control, right? So I don't know if you're familiar with Photoshop, so I'm not going to use that as an example. But imagine a game world and a location and all the different parts of a game, right? Be it the space station level, the I don't know, container level, the sewage level, all of these levels, and even the different elements, the 3D objects used in there, they're all separate files, right? Separate data. And what I can do, and this is pretty normal for many game engines or like just workflows with software in general, right? Not just games. By the way, Fabian, thank you so much for throwing the code out. I hope you're having a good time. Also, Ayashbek, sorry if I missed it. I hope I didn't. Goodbye. Thanks again for dropping by. I really, really appreciate it. Okay, before I lose my trail of thought. So all of these files, I can basically reserve them for myself, right? So if I need to work on the space station level, or maybe just a smaller part of it, because it might again be split into smaller files, right? I can grab them, claim them, and while I have them, no one else can work on it, right? But you might break down a level into files as small as individual rooms, right? So it might be the med bay, it might be the science laboratory, and these are all individual files of the same big file, which is the space station, right? So maybe one designer then will grab the file of the med bay, and one will grab the file of the science lab, and that allows us to work on the same location at the same time, right? Without getting in each other's way. Now that, of course, requires that we as developers make sure that the structure that we've built there, this splitting in different files, is kept clean and maintained, because you wouldn't want 3D objects that are associated with the medic bay file to be in the actual 3D space of the other area, right? The med bay area, the science lab. So, you know, then you can't manipulate them because that file is being reserved. It's of course a bit more complex than that, but that's about as simple as I could make it, you know, for now. And I hope that sort of makes it clear, or I hope that was sufficient for understanding. Oh man, Fabian, just throwing out these codes for Baldur's Gate 3 even. So that's even like a new upcoming game. I don't think that has launched yet, right? There's only been a demo so far, I think, or early access maybe. So yeah, that's a game that in our studio, a lot of people are really looking forward to, because the Baldur's Gate games, of course, being the you know, titans of role-playing games that they are a big inspiration for what we are doing. Yeah, that's fucking cool. Thank you so much, Fabian. What Sunquad learned from the stream is that, one, blocking line of sight, right? Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah, that's a good thing. What does a game designer do? Thanks to Andy. Placing player guidance objects to the loot caches, yeah. And camouflaging 180-degree turns. Yeah, those are some good lessons to take from this stream, I would say. Absolutely. I think we should work this as part of the stream to have these sort of like sum up things. I think this is good in terms of the mission of this stream of you know, acquiring and solidifying knowledge. What do you say? Is that a good idea to do like a summary of what we've learned at the end of the stream? I mean, feels obvious now that I say it. Or a checklist, maybe. Maybe I can try to do like a little notepad where we just together write down these things. That might be cool. Let's experiment with that. Yeah, I could do like a Google Doc, I suppose, that I just share, that everyone has access to, right? And no one can edit it except for me, but you can read it. And I suppose, you know, like every stream, you can just kind of go in there and read like a sum up of the knowledge we've learned. I suppose it might be redundant from stream to stream because, you know, things like player guidance, we do the same things, but I think that's okay. That's okay. How long does it take an average gig to be completed from planning to completion? You mean not from the player's point of view, but sort of from the design, right? How long do you guess? I'm curious. How long do you think a gig might take from start to finish? Matthew, I'm afraid we're about to wrap it up. But thank you still for taking the time to drop by. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh my God. But the VOD is in, right? And I'll have to say one or two things about our next stream. I'll sum up what I said during the stream in a bit. How late am I? Yes. 2-3 weeks. Wow. So you think that, and this is not, you know, in any kind of derogatory way. So you genuinely think that making an entire gig would be a matter of 2 to 3 weeks from start to finish, literally from the very first start where we, I don't know, plan it out to what we ship in the final version of the game. Is that correct? Am I understanding this correctly? Corporate, no offense taken though. I thought it was funny. 24-hour stream confirmed. Without assets, graphics, and time for programming. But then it wouldn't be finished, right? I suppose so. If you assume, all right, if you assume that we would have everything, like we already, let's assume we already have all the 3D meshes and we don't need to build new ones, right? And let's assume we, for some reason, also have all the audio lines already written and recorded, which is also not the case, right? Because that usually comes as you make this kind of stuff. Then just purely from building the location and perhaps from implementing the encounter, I think you're like 3 weeks would be like 3 weeks where you have people working on this for at least 8 hours for 5 days a week, right? Multiple people could be done. But again, that is ignoring that you need to write dialogue and all the text, right? You need to get that recorded. You need to implement all of the scenes, right? The interactions between NPCs and all of that stuff. You need to plan all of that out, right? Before that. So I think that it's probably a bit short-handed if you don't have most of that stuff. It will probably take a bit longer. Because there's so many things that need to go into this. Also, of course, iteration, right? You don't just build it and then it's done, right? You play test it and then you change stuff around, and through changing stuff around, it might change even the story, which might require rewrites of the dialogue and all of these things. It's a huge undertaking that takes a lot of people, actually, not just me. You have the level designer, the environment artist, you have QA testing it, you have perhaps a sound designer, you have a lighting artist, you have the open world designer, of course, or the quest designer. You have the encounter designer, or sometimes that's also the level designer. You know, and the cinematics team also to help with the sort of like scenes there. You see, there's a lot of people, you know, who I guess if they all worked their own 2 weeks, you could multiply that, right? Like, so basically, let's just assume it's 5 people working 2 weeks on this, which might be too much, right? But so each working an 8-hour day, that means 5 times 8 is 40. So it's like 40 man hours done per day, right? So that means by 5 days, it's it's 200 hours, man hours per week. Times 2 would be 400 man hours. You know, that's the kind of calculations to do. I'm not saying that this is an accurate number for what a gig would take, but you see how suddenly you're at 400 hours for five people to do this kind of stuff over the course of 2 weeks, and that is a lot, right? It's not a little amount of time. If you convert that back to one person, it is basically like, what is it? I forgot my line of trail of thought. Anyway, you get what I mean. It takes a shit ton of time. I hope that comes a bit as a surprise. Okay, generous. How long does it take an average gig to complete? Yeah, I was trolling. Hope the stream was good. I'm hoping so too, Matthew. I'm hoping that you'll like the stream. If you had to connect with the overall narrative, maybe a month. But this is also the extra stuff, right? Trying to find the links that you can do Yotaro being mentioned, or like sort of linking into the Judy quest line and all of that stuff. When is the secret level or more? Yeah, when the secret level is, I don't know yet. We'll plan. I'll let you know in a stream and perhaps also via Twitter. So be assured you'll not miss when it will be. At least I'm trying that. But is it like done, or then QA verifies that and it goes back? LOL3K, that's pretty much the step entirely at the end of this stuff, right? You kind of say it's done, but then still there's lots of play testing, destruction testing, what we call as well, like where you try to break stuff intentionally, and then fixes being applied there. It's a very long and complex process, and if you really think about it, that's just for a gig, right? Which is a unit of side content that we have, right? Like the whole scope blows up dramatically for main quests and other kind of activities that you can do in the game. And yeah, I heard, by the way, at one point, I don't know if it's still true. It might be different, but at one point I heard that like just making a main character or something is like, for one character artist, is a matter of 2 to 3 weeks or something. I don't know, or no, even longer. Might be a bullshit number, but that's sort of what I remember floating around. Oh, Yunami, that's very nice. Thank you very much. That really does mean a lot to me. Okay, Miles. What separates a junior level designer from mid, senior, and lead? What should... Ah, that's a big question. Let me see if I have some easier questions to answer. How was your long weekend? Mine weekend was very hot, but I still had a great time. Yeah, same here. My long weekend was mostly great. Yeah, it was actually pretty good. I had a great time relaxing, playing some Mass Effect, melting in the sun. Then it's time to boil in the water. Yeah, that is true. Okay. Pay grade is the difference for sure, right? I think the main, the main difference is sort of not just in sort of like the level of responsibility for the different tasks, right? How much responsibility is being given. But I think one of the main things that probably make a good senior, right, as opposed to a junior, is that I think seniors should take on the role of also being mentors to juniors, right? Which is something I wouldn't expect from a junior. I don't expect a junior to go around and teach people necessarily, right? But I think a senior should be in a position where they have acquired knowledge and also an understanding and a will to actively teach specialists and seniors the craft, right? And to be sort of ambassadors of level design within a company and a studio, right? To kind of be able to explain and share this knowledge also and the importance of it to other departments, right? And take this sort of educational role. And this is certainly something I don't expect from a junior, right? But other than that, I mean, again, the area of responsibilities, I think, would be a big one. And I think, you know, there's several other things as well, but they sort of also depend from company to company, right? Some companies are much more straightforward about putting like actual, like almost like bullet point checklists, like this is what you have to do on this is what you have to do on this, which can be really, really good. Other companies are a bit more lax on that, right? And you know, I suppose there's arguments for both of these. However, ultimately, it really depends on the environment that you're working in. Ultimately, titles are just that. They're titles. They don't necessarily reflect on the skill of an individual, right? I've seen, and this is, I suppose, true for many other industries as well. I've seen some juniors who've been doing, like, who are crazy talented and crazy good, and they have like this fire burning in them that allows them to pick up new knowledge and concepts so quickly, and just kind of, they're like sponges to knowledge, right? Which is really, really beautiful to see when it happens, and you literally see this designer become like a monster designer right in front of you, right? Whereas I've also seen seniors who I don't feel like they may be to the qualities of a senior, right? And that can in part be also because they've been in the industry so long. You kind of get to a point where you're like, oh yeah, I think I've reached the top. I don't need to learn anymore. You kind of stop having that hunger, right? So and again, that's something that's very plausible and most likely happens in many aspects of life, right? Where once you get to a level of mastery, you may become lazy, right? And then you have people who are in more junior positions basically overtake you in skill. It happens. So ultimately, the title is only a very rough indicator, I would say, as to the skill that a person has, the talent, the ability, but it should be a good indicator in regards to what to expect from a certain person, right? Meaning that mentorship role and certain level of control and calmness, right? And not being so mega driven by your emotion. You see a bug happening, you're not, you know, like going into a fetal position, dying and crying, right? But you sort of are able to use your experience to maintain a level of cool. Difference between level designer and gameplay designer. Well, level designer, like in some areas, the degree can be really fleeting, right? But mostly a level designer focuses on making that levels and making sure that the systems, the gameplay systems, work well with these levels and the other way around as well, right? So if you have a shooting mechanic, the shooting mechanic would probably be done by a gameplay designer, right? And the programmers and animators and all that stuff, right? But it would be done hopefully with the input of the level designer to go, okay, these are the metrics we will have for combat. This is how high cover needs to be. This is how much space an arena will need to be in order for all of this combat to always play nicely, right? And then I sort of plan my locations knowing these sort of rules that we came up with, right? That rules that ultimately define and dictate the world and the gameplay. And that's sort of where I kind of do the role. Okay. So we do a few minutes longer because we started like 7 minutes late today, 10 minutes late. But I think we're at the point where I'd like to wrap it up. How much coding do you do as a level designer, if any? Not so much coding, but some scripting. There's a difference. Coding is the really hardcore wizardry. Scripting is where you take Lego pieces and put them together and hope that cool things happen. Actually, a better example that might be more understandable for people who have nothing to do with all of this is what you do in Minecraft when you play with redstone. That's scripting, right? for the most part. What you do to make that scripting possible, right, and all of these interactions of Redstone possible under the hood, that's probably coding. Oh, Fabian. Someone call an ambulance. It's already so hot. I didn't think I could get burned more, but here we are. He came, he saw, he conquered. So yeah, I'm a script kiddie. Roasted, toasted, burned. Can we? Actually, this is really good. Kelly, can you put that on the... I think this is a great use of the toasted emoji. We should get in on this. This is a really great way of using that. Okay, let's write that down. Okay. As a senior engineer, I can confirm, as long as it doesn't blow up, then it's all fine. See that meme with the dog in the burning room? This is fine, end quote. Yeah, that's been my life for the past 6 months. But it's been getting much better. Actually, I suppose I would extend that. You know, that is not just because of, you know, like the obvious elephant in the room. But I mean, there's a whole pandemic which has been going on and all of that stuff, right? A lot of stuff in life in general, which kind of elicited that feeling of me being that dog sitting in the room with fire burning around me. Nuyakas, anytime, man. Thank you so much for your support and always being here. I really, really appreciate it. Also throwing around the bids like there's no tomorrow. Yeah, you know, and Anjay, it's okay. It's okay to feel like that every once in a while. Absolutely. Guys, I think that's a great note to end on. I think this is really good. I thank you so much again for coming and spending your time. 3 hours is a long time, even though those that just drop by later. I really appreciate it, right? When I started this, I didn't think there would be any watchers, maybe like, you know, 5 or so. And I'm really glad to see that there's actually so many people who are interested in my craft, essentially, right? Like what we do to make games. And this makes me really happy. I'm really happy to be able to show you this and have this shared experience. I think we learned quite a bit today. There was like certainly 1 or 2 pointers, like the spawning enemies, you know, like the build up animation that I think is something I'll take into my toolkit, provided the possibility to use it, right? And I hope you could learn something today as well. If not, it's not a big deal. I need to do a better job then. But other than that, I hope you had still fun and were able to enjoy this and had a good, relaxing evening in the middle of the week. It's only 2 more days now till the weekend, so we almost did it again. Another week done, and I hope you get to enjoy that time. Have a great weekend. I want to do another stream of Mass Effect 2 on Sunday afternoon. The exact time I am not sure as of yet, but it will be in the later afternoon, probably, maybe even in the evening. This is for everyone who's voted earlier that they would like to see more of Mass Effect 2, because in the real stream, which is next week Wednesday, we will continue with Mass Effect 3 and see how that one improves even further from what is happening here. Mirosi, it's okay because Pavel is taking a weekend day off. I would never take Sundays from him. Not that I could, but this one is a bit okay because he's out. He's out. Papa's out of the house. Let's crack open the alcohol and have a party. So yeah. That's the plans. Sunday will be more relaxed stream with some level design focus, right? But we'll goof around more, maybe spend a bit more time on QA. And again, I hope you had a good time. Stay healthy, stay safe. Thanks for all the support and have a good night. See ya.